Chapter 2100. The first stage ended. Inside Secret Realm 97, Xiaochen looked at his ranking, 98th. Gong Liangyu, who ranked first, had 4 million Faux God Spirit Jades, still ranked first. He is not dead yet? As Xiaochen looked at the 3-kilometer-tall pile of rubble, he entered deep thought. Of the elemental great Tao of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder, the Earth Great Tao was the most resilient. The saying, as firm as a boulder, or as stable as a mountain, described cultivators who cultivated the Earth Great Tao. Earth was also the foundation of many elemental Great Tao. The many Great Tao in the world evolved from the Earth Great Tao. The elemental Great Tao did not differ in strength. However, one had to admit that cultivators who grasped the Earth Great Tao were more difficult to deal with. The Earth Great Tao was also one of the more difficult elemental Great Tao to cultivate. It was extremely incredible that Gong Liangyu could break through the Earth Great Tao to the Tao domain. Whoosh! The rubble in front flowed like water, and Gong Liangyu slowly emerged from it. Participant Gong Liangyu, congratulations. You rank 13th overall in the first stage. Ranking 13th meant that Gong Liangyu would not be a seeded participant in the second stage. This was a significant blow to Gong Liangyu, who was determined to rank within the top 10. You should rejoice that the test is over. Gong Liangyu looked coldly at Xiaochen. It was all because of this person. If not for Xiaochen, Xiaochen would have been able to rank within the top 10. Indeed, when the great desolate Ian bloodline vanished, the test ended. You are overthinking. Luck is also a part of strength. No matter how lucky I am, I obtained this result through hard work and perseverance. It had to be said that this was Xiaochen's luck. However, this was also the result he obtained after persevering. Xiaochen was very open-minded, not feeling as conflicted or dissatisfied as Gong Liangyu. To Xiaochen, it was already a pretty good result to be able to enter the next stage. More than 1 million participants gathered in the entire martial epic. This was a super test for sovereign personages under 500 years old. The first stage eliminated more than 900,000 participants. Xiaochen already felt satisfied that he did not get eliminated. As for talking about luck, it seemed a little petty. Without perseverance and doing everything he could, he would not be able to enjoy luck. Humph, I hope you won't run into me in the next round. Gong Liangyu snorted coldly as a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Xiaochen smiled faintly. Now, he felt that Gong Liangyu wasn't that scary anymore. If he really felt that he had only relied on luck to pass the stage. If he were to meet the other party in the second test, he might not have to put himself in such a sorry state. In the secret realm, the bodies of the remaining 100 people started to fade as they were teleported out by the realm spirit. Xiaochen's body flickered as he appeared on the starry sky Dao pillar in Desolate City. As soon as he appeared, he was shocked to find that he was surrounded by nothing but empty land. The examinees who had been eliminated had already taken the initiative to make way for Xiaochen and the other examinees. Apart from him, there was only one person in the entire Barren City assessment area who had passed the first test. Everyone else would have to go through the loser's bracket and undergo rounds of cruel battles to obtain a limited number of spots. Nangong Feng, Sovereign Emperor Xingji's disciple. A person at the side greeted Xiaochen and reported his name. Xiaochen nodded slightly and said, Xiaochen, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciple. At the mention of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, a strange look flashed in Nangong Feng's eyes. When Xiaochen discovered that only he and Nangong Feng had passed the first test, he found it somewhat strange. This desolate city assessment area is too unlucky. Nangong Feng glanced at Xiaochen and said indifferently, Desolate City is just a transit point. There are not many experts here, so it is only average in the first place. The results of this test are very polarized. The 3 dynasties' assessment areas occupy 60% of the spots. The Special Astral Zone's assessment areas account for 20%. Many of the other assessment areas were even completely wiped out. The Heavenly Alliance was a super faction that spanned the entire Great Thousand Realms. However, the 3 dynasties which occupied Great Luck had more true experts. As for the so-called special astral zones, they were only those that were far from the central Great Realm. However, due to many factors, the spiritual energy of these outer regions was no weaker than that of the central Great Realm. They even gave birth to special secret realms that could nurture many experts. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The thrones of the purple-haired old man and the group of sovereign emperors flew to the two. City Lord Shangguan revealed a smile and said, "Congratulations to the two of you for passing the first test." In the end, the Heavenly Alliance changed the rules before dying. I thought that the desolate city assessment area would be completely wiped out. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu, Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. Present. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and Sovereign Emperor Xinggu stood up and appeared. Then, they arrived before the purple-haired old man and bowed respectfully. The two of you each lead a disciple and bring glory to my desolate city assessment area. I will reward you well. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu, I will give you 100 million primeval heavenly pills, 100 subdivine crystals, and a 10,000-year-old herb king. You can choose whatever you want in the treasure pavilion. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu revealed an expression of joy. Subdivine crystals were peak-grade spirit jades, extremely rare. Obtaining 100 of them would be a great fortune to a sovereign emperor. As for primeval heavenly pills, they were somewhat insignificant. However, 100 million was a completely different matter. The so-called 10,000-year-old herb king referred to natural treasures that were more than 100,000 years old. They were treasures that could extend one's life at any time. The other sovereign emperors revealed envious expressions. The rewards for this test were several times higher than before. However, this made sense when they thought about it. There were more than 1 million participants, and the Heavenly Alliance changed the rules at the last minute. No amount of rewards would be too much for someone who could lead the participants through the first test under such circumstances. Otherwise, City Lord Shangguan wouldn't be able to keep his face if everyone in the desolate city's examination area was wiped out. As for the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, I really do not know how to reward you this time. To think that you managed to bring out a powerful demonic genius who grasped martial and soul as one at the age of 47. Furthermore, you even passed the first test. You have given me a pleasant surprise. The purple-haired old man's gaze fell on the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, and he naturally revealed a smile. Lord Shangguan, you are too serious. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor replied politely. The purple-haired old man laughed loudly and said, I am not exaggerating. Earlier, several Heavenly Alliance Cordoyans asked me about Xiao Chen. He expressed his willingness to accept Xiao Chen into the Heavenly Alliance. I am truly flattered. This has never happened in the 10,000 years I have been in Desolate City. The moment Xiao Chen said that, the surrounding sovereign emperors burst into an uproar, feeling incredibly shocked. Within the Heaven Alliance, aside from the Alliance Master and the Deputy Alliance Master, the Law Kings held the highest position. For example, the purple-haired elder was only a Grand Elder, not a core Grand Elder. However, the purple-haired elder was a bit special. He had to oversee Desolate City. Although he was a Grand Elder, his status and authority were not inferior to that of a core Grand Elder. Most of the doyens in the other regions were 9 vain sovereign emperors. Back then, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor also had a chance to become a doyen. However, he didn't care much about it, so he retreated. Now, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu was doing his best to climb up the ranks and become one of the Heavenly Alliance's doyens. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu and his disciple, Nangong Feng, showed envy and shock on their faces. To think that a core doyen took a fancy to Xiao Chen. This was a blessing that could not be obtained even in several lifetimes, something that Nangong Feng did not even dare to dream about. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu felt even more depressed. If Xiao Chen were his disciple, he might have directly become a doyen with this contribution. To think that such a good thing fell into the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's lap. No matter how Sovereign Emperor Xinggu thought about it, he felt uncomfortable. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt slightly startled. He had not expected a core doyen to notice Xiao Chen. Previously, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was only one step away from becoming a doyen. He knew very well how horrifying the strength of the core doyens, who were above doyens, was. The core doyens had the authority to bring the disciple they fancied into the Heavenly Alliance. However, the core doyens could use such authority only once or twice at most. The Heavenly Alliance was a superfaction made up of many peak merchant associations. For the sake of the Heavenly Alliance's continuous operation, it needed strict alliance rules. The Heavenly Alliance's test was one of the most serious matters of the Heavenly Alliance. No mistakes could be tolerated. Even the core doyens could use such authority only once or twice for Xiaoqun. This showed how much they valued Xiaoqun. For a core doyen to be willing to use this privilege that could only be used once or twice for Xiaoqun showed how much they valued Xiaoqun. Xiaoqun might not understand the significance of this, but these sovereign emperors understood it very well. Xiaoqun, what's your decision? If you are willing, you can formally join the Heavenly Alliance without needing to participate in the second stage, the purple-haired old man said softly as he looked at Xiaoqun. The purple-haired old man entered deep thought. Then he nodded and said, "Very well. I'll tell you the information of these core doyens in private." The purple-haired old man entered deep thought. Then he nodded and said, "All right. I'll tell you the information of these core doyens in private." "Thank you, Lord Shangguan." At the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's signal, Xiaoqun performed a cupped fist salute, thanking the purple-haired old man. The purple-haired old man looked at the other participants and said, "The second stage will be held 10 days from now. If you want to participate in the Losers Arena, make your preparations and come 10 days from now. If you are not willing, those who still have faux god spirit jades can exchange them for some resources you need in Desolate City." "Thank you, Lord Shangguan." Chapter 2101. After the purple-haired old man finished speaking, he left with the group of Desolate City's upper echelon. The first stage of the test came to an end. "Brother Peach Blossom, you are really lucky. I brought 10-odd people into the Heavenly Alliance and worked hard for more than 1,000 years, but I cannot compare to the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's good disciple," Sovereign Emperor Xinggu said somewhat eccentrically as he walked over. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled and said, "I was indeed lucky. I'll take my leave first. I still have to discuss the core doyen's invitation with Xiaoqun." Seeing the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's indifferent attitude, even bringing up the matter of the core doyens taking a fancy to Xiaoqun, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu felt disgusted. Even if Sovereign Emperor Xinggu wanted to lose his temper, he could only hold it in. After a while, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and the others returned to Desolate City via the Starry Heavendale platform. They found a residence near the overflowing sea to settle down. The highest pavilion of the residence had a window on the top floor, which allowed one to see the vast, radiant overflowing sea. At this moment, Xiaoqun and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor were alone in the pavilion. The others had already left. "Xiaoqun, do you know why I was not in a rush to get you to agree to Lord Shangguan on the Dao platform?" Xiaoqun felt suspicious. "I don't know." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor went to the window and looked at the overflowing sea. After some thought, he said, "Within the Heavenly Alliance, the core doyens are below the Alliance Chief and the Vice Alliance Chief. Catching the eye of a core doyen is extremely rare. It is an extravagant hope that many people do not even dare to dream of. I was afraid that you would be too excited and unable to make a decision. Hence, I wanted you to calm down before making a decision that truly follows your heart." Xiaoqun thought about it. At that time, he had indeed felt a surge of emotions. Suddenly hearing such good news while being stared at by tens of thousands of eyes, his emotions fluctuated greatly. There is one more thing. Catching the eye of a core doyen might not be a good thing. Feeling confused, Xiaoqun asked, "Why is that?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave Xiaoqun a deep look. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Compared to the other superfactions, the Heavenly Alliance's internal structure is much more complicated because it is made up of merchant associations. The level of chaos here was much worse than that of the veteran superfactions like the Bushin Palace, the Universe Origin Sect, the Hidden Spirit Temple, and the Profound Heaven Holy Land. Not all of them are good people. Factional struggles are also quite intense. Originally, These things were very far away from you. My original intention was for you to rely on your own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance. This way, it would be easier for you to be respected, and you would have more freedom. Let me put it more bluntly. If you rely on the Cordoyans to support you and enter the Heavenly Alliance, you will not be able to do so. If you want to retreat in the future, with this favor, how can you retreat? If I'm not careful, I might get caught up in the conflict between the factions and sink deeper and deeper. It'll be even more troublesome if I can't retreat even if I wanted to. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's words held a deeper meaning. It seemed like he had been forced to retreat from Peach Blossom City for some reason back then. Now, he didn't want Xiaoqun to repeat his mistakes. Xiaoqun was still fine. At the very least, he had retired and was in a half-hidden state, no longer caring about the Heavenly Alliance's matters. He knew that Xiaoqun joined the Heavenly Alliance because the Heavenly Alliance had more freedom. If Xiaoqun ended up being tied down, Xiaoqun might feel vexed. When Xiaoqun heard that, he entered deep thought. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's words calmed him down completely. Indeed, if Xiaoqun could not leave the Heavenly Alliance in the future because of this favor, the losses would outweigh the gains. There's no rush. It will not be too late to make a decision after I know which senior elder took a liking to you. There are also many rather neutral Cordoyans in the Heavenly Alliance. There is no need to rush. Many thanks, City Lord. Xiaoqun performed a cupped fist salute. It's fine. You can withdraw first and make your preparations. You might have to participate in the second stage 10 days later. However, Xiaoqun did not leave. He showed a hesitant expression, like he wanted to say something. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor asked, "Is there something else?" "I would like to borrow primeval heavenly pills from City Lord." Xiaoqun had always been decisive and rarely hesitated. However, he felt somewhat embarrassed about borrowing primeval heavenly pills. How much? At least 3,000 primeval heavenly pills. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor raised his eyebrows and sighed softly. Then, he walked over and placed a hand on Xiaoqun's shoulder. After a while, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor revealed an expression of understanding. It turns out that you have been stuck at the bottleneck of Small Perfection Sovereign Personage for close to 2 years already. The resources needed to break through the bottleneck are indeed astronomical. 30 million primeval heavenly pills might not be enough. How about this? I'll lend you 50 million primeval heavenly pills and return you a rank 7 cloud-breaking pill. That way, you will have a better chance of breaking through to Great Perfection Sovereign Personage. After the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor understood, he felt very forthright, not hesitating at all. After a pause, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor continued, "You don't have to feel like you owe me a favor. You and I are helping each other. By letting you participate in the test, I do not need to be criticized for not doing anything. Furthermore, Lord Shangguan will give me a reward that will not be lesser than this." Xiaoqun nodded slightly. However, he still owed the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor a favor in his heart. No matter what, without the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, Xiaoqun would not have been able to enter the Heavenly Alliance's test. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor lent him 50 million primeval heavenly pills on a whim, even giving him a rank 7 heavenly pill. Xiaoqun admired the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's forthrightness. However, are you sure you want to break through at this time? Once you fail, you will have to recuperate for half a month. After that, the Heavenly Alliance's test will be over. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiaoqun cautiously. Xiaoqun received the storage ring that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him. Then, he said calmly, "I've already made up my mind. Given Gong Liangyu's strength, I estimate that he will rank within the top 100. Right now, I find it hard to even block him. If I do not improve, I do not have much hope of passing the test. But with a great battle ahead, it is not impossible to cut off all means of retreat." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor nodded and personally sent Xiaoqun off. After returning to his room, Xiaoqun thought to himself, 50 million primeval heavenly pills. If I work hard and do not have any fortuitous encounters, I will have to work hard for at least 2 years. This time, Xiao Chen not only wanted to use this opportunity to break through to Great Perfection Sovereign Personage but also break through to the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's 11th layer in one go and comprehend the Thunder Dao domain. Xiao Chen's Saber Dao still had flaws that he could not fix. However, he had never slacked off on his Thunder Dao. He grasped the 5-element Divine Lightning and the 10,000 Tribulation Divine Lightning hidden in his Sea of Consciousness. Xiao Chen's Thunder Dao was not much weaker than his Saber Dao. Every time the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation broke through a layer, Xiao Chen had to undergo a Lightning Tribulation. The 11th Lightning Tribulation would definitely be extremely terrifying, but if he could survive it, he would definitely be able to survive it. However, if Xiao Chen successfully cleared it, his understanding of the Thunder Dao would definitely reach a new level. The Thunder Dao domain would be within his grasp. If everything went according to plan, Xiao Chen would be able to advance to Great Perfection Sovereign Personage and grasp the Thunder Dao domain within 10 days. At that time, the increase in strength would not be just a little bit. Even if Xiao Chen did not bring out all his trump cards, he would have a 60% chance of defeating Gong Liangyu. Cultivation was secondary. The most important thing was the Dao domain. Without a Dao domain, Xiao Chen would be at a disadvantage. With the Earth Dao domain, Gong Liangyu would naturally be undefeatable when facing Xiao Chen. There would come a time when he could turn things around. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor is right. If I rely on Cordoyans to enter the Heavenly Alliance, I will definitely face many restrictions and not have much freedom. Actually, this is not in line with my character. I can only grasp the initiative by relying on myself. A brilliant light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. At this moment, his heart was clear. After thinking it through, he felt relaxed. More importantly, Xiao Chen also felt proud in his heart. Everyone believed that he was too young and would find it hard to pass this Heavenly Alliance's test. Since everyone believed that he could not rely on his own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance, then he would prove it to everyone. Even if he was only 47 years old, he could still rely on his own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance. As long as one lived, one had to possess inextinguishable confidence. Why can't I do the same? Divine Universe Steel. With a thought, the Divine Universe Steel flew out of Xiao Chen's body. Then, his figure flashed and entered the steel. The Dao platform in the steel was even larger than Desolate City's Starry Heavens Dao platform. A blood moon hung high above the Dao platform. Whoosh! Xiao Chen turned into a beam of light and directly entered the blood moon. Then, the Divine Universe Steel in the room vanished into thin air. A white figure slowly descended from the blood moon in the Blue Dragon Ancient City's secret realm. The black and white eggs, the two chatterboxes, boasted excitedly on top of a dilapidated, ancient palace. Black Egg looked up and exclaimed somewhat excitedly, "Look! Is Egg back?" White Egg looked in the direction Black Egg pointed. "Ha! It really is Egg. He probably needs a beating. Come. I can't wait anymore." Chapter 2102. The Land of the Blood Moon. Before Xiao Chen landed, he saw the black and white eggs flying towards him. "It has only been a short while. Why are you coming back already?" Black Egg asked Xiao Chen after landing, feeling it was strange. White Egg cackled and said, "Could it be that you are really asking for a beating?" Xiao Chen said, "With your current strength, you are not a match for me. If anyone is going to be beaten up, it will be me." "Nonsense. Come. Let's have a spar." The black and white eggs immediately felt unconvinced. They took up a stance, wanting to fight Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "There's no rush. I will fight you after I break through to Great Perfection Sovereign Personage and grasp a Dao domain. When you reach Great Perfection Sovereign Personage, we can adjust our strength to peak Sovereign Personage. If we work together, we can be considered unrivaled among Sovereign Personages. Are you sure you want to fight us?" The black and white eggs gave Xiao Chen strange looks. They were both faux gods and would always be one cultivation level higher than Xiao Chen. "Is that so? I look forward to it. I hope that you can give me a pleasant surprise." A fighting spirit flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he said seriously. The stronger the black and white eggs were, the higher his chances of clearing the second stage would be. Are you serious? How did you manage to obtain so many resources in such a short time? Could it be that you are being chased and are hiding here? Xiaochen looked around and chose a place to break through. Then, he said casually, I borrowed resources from others. I will have to return them in the future. The black and white eggs chatted softly as they watched Xiaochen leave, finding it strange. He is in too much of a rush. I wonder what he experienced outside for him to want to break through to great perfection sovereign personage now. Although he reached the bottleneck of small perfection sovereign personage long ago, his chances of breaking through will be much higher after a few years. Let's wait. I hope nothing happens to Egg. Otherwise, it will not be fun. Breaking through to great perfection sovereign personage was definitely risky. If one failed, one would have to recuperate for several months at best. The Heavenly Alliance's test was filled with experts and experts. Xiaochen cut off all means of retreat, staking everything on one throw. In any case, Xiaochen no longer had a way out. If he did not advance to great perfection sovereign personage and grasp a Dao domain, he basically had no hope of passing the test. Since that was the case, he might as well go all out. Breaking through in the land of the blood moon was actually more difficult than in the outside world because the spirit chi there was much sparser. However, the benefits were also very obvious. It was quiet enough, and there was nothing to be afraid of, no commotion. Xiaochen chose a spot and laid a spirit gathering formation. Then, he casually waved his hand, and more than 10 million primeval heavenly pills immediately spread over the formation. The dense spiritual energy scattered everywhere, but it was all absorbed by the spirit gathering formation, not a single bit dissipating. Xiaochen's figure flashed, and he landed in the center of the formation. Primeval heavenly pills floated around him. Closing his eyes, he sat down cross-legged and began to circulate his energy. The tens of thousands of primeval heavenly pills immediately sank and entered the spirit gathering formation. Then, the formation compressed and condensed it, surging into Xiaochen's body in the center of the formation, wave after wave of impact. Spiritual energy flowed through his meridians and surged over like ferocious beasts. An ordinary sovereign personage's physical body would not have been able to endure such an impact. However, Xiaochen had an acquired divine body. He calmly allowed his body to withstand the impact and directed the spiritual energy into his primal core. When a martial artist cultivated, the Yuan Dan was the vessel. To put it simply, it was to make the container bigger and stronger. But in reality, it was much more complicated. A breakthrough in cultivation. Not only could it withstand more true essence, but most importantly, it could also change the quality of true essence, making it more condensed and vigorous. True essence was the foundation of all martial skills, cultivation methods, and secret techniques. If two people had the same cultivation methods, martial skills, and mystic techniques, if the quality of their true essence was different, then there would be a clear difference in strength. Sovereign personage had 4 stages. Every breakthrough was as difficult as ascending to heaven. If not for the fact that Xiaochen was exceptionally talented, possessed the great desolate era bloodline, and had cultivated the acquired divine body, he would not have been able to survive. It was impossible for Xiaochen to have a chance to break through to great perfection sovereign personage within 4 years. Time passed slowly. Xiaochen's breakthrough to great perfection sovereign personage did not go smoothly. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. Xiaochen had exhausted 30 million primeval heavenly pills. During this time, Xiaochen ran into many dangerous situations. His complexion flickered, and his life force weakened. This worried the black and white eggs, who were watching from afar. I have to use the cloud-breaking pill. Xiaochen flicked his finger and took out the rank 7 cloud-breaking pill that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor gave him. When the cloud-breaking pill entered Xiaochen's mouth, it melted like a clump of flame, instantly igniting the spiritual energy in his body. The intensity of his spiritual energy instantly increased several-fold. After using the cloud-breaking pill, he had to use it in one go, staking it all on one throw. Otherwise, once this spiritual energy was extinguished, all his previous efforts would be for naught, leaving him with no way out. This egg is really worrying, Black Egg said somewhat worriedly. The best way to make a breakthrough is to wait for the conditions to be right. There is no need to forcefully break through. Egg can do that. However, she is in too much of a rush. If she uses resources to forcefully break through, she will have to bear this risk, White Egg said softly. White Egg said softly. Its tone was similarly filled with unconcealable worry. Although the two combat puppets were heartless and did not hold back when they beat up Xiao Chen, they had known each other for a few years. However, they had known each other for a few years, after all. They had some feelings for each other, so they did not want anything to happen to him. Boo. Just as the two discussed, a terrifying might and pressure suddenly erupted from Xiao Chen's body. A dragon roar resounded in the surroundings from his body. Xiao Chen's aura underwent a drastic change, undergoing a complete transformation. Great Perfection's sovereign personage. Egg succeeded. The black and white eggs immediately rejoiced. Their figures flashed as they prepared to congratulate Xiao Chen. Even though Xiao Chen had been stuck at a bottleneck for 2 years and already had deep accumulations and the help of the cloud-breaking pill, he might not be able to break through. Even if he could not successfully break through, there was still only a 50-50 chance of success. It was indeed worth celebrating. Wait a moment. Black Egg quickly pulled White Egg back and retreated at the same time. In the next moment, tribulation clouds gathered in the surroundings. Soon, surging thunderclouds flickered with electric light above Xiao Chen's head, radiating out continuously. Soon, these black thunderclouds, which gave off an incomparably suppressive feeling, covered most of the sky above the land of the Blood Moon. Even the Blood Moon was covered. The secret realm of the Blue Dragon ancient city turned pitch black. The black and white eggs only stopped after retreating a long distance. They appeared incredibly shocked. What is going on? Lightning tribulation? Egg is really going all out. She already broke through to Great Perfection's sovereign personage. To think that she still wants to go further. It might be some kind of cultivation technique. However, why does this lightning tribulation feel ridiculously strong? The black and white eggs muttered softly. They discovered that the thunderclouds in the sky were no ordinary tribulation clouds. Even they felt some fear and unease. The strength of this lightning tribulation was somewhat terrifying. It is still storing up power. This lightning tribulation is somewhat exaggerated. The entire land of the Blood Moon suddenly turned incredibly suppressive. The churning thunderclouds in the sky looked majestic, like they could swallow up everything. The black thunderclouds were incredibly dense, like the vast sea hanging in the sky, undulating. This was the lightning tribulation that the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation needed to undergo to break through to the 11th layer. After breaking through this lightning tribulation, Xiao Chen's Purple Thunder Divine Incantation would reach the highest layer, the 12th layer. This was the final lightning tribulation of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Xiao Chen could only undergo this tribulation when he was a Great Perfection sovereign personage. If he was a small Perfection sovereign personage, there would be no hope at all. Suddenly, 2 bolts of black lightning appeared in the sky, tearing through the darkness. They were like the evil claws of a ferocious beast in the thunderclouds as they charged at the black and white eggs. Bang! The black and white eggs shattered into pieces, scattering all over the ground. It was not over yet. Another 2 bolts of lightning descended from the sky, blasting at the pieces on the ground. This startled the black and white eggs, who had been pretending to be dead. They quickly reformed and fled. Let's go. The black and white eggs felt stunned as they quickly retreated. They kept retreating until they nearly reached the borders of this secret realm. Only then did the black and white eggs truly avoid the pursuit of the lightning bolts and get chased out. Why do I feel somewhat uneasy? White Egg looked at the thunderclouds in the sky somewhat nervously. Then, it looked at Xiao Chen, who was in the middle of the thunderclouds. This tribulation lightning is truly unheard of. Given the structure of this secret realm, it is impossible for it to have such terrifying lightning-attributed spiritual energy. I can only say that Egg's cultivation technique triggered the martial epic's origin tribulation lightning, ignoring the existence of this secret realm. As the black and white eggs discussed, the desolate slave soul reaper had appeared on the city walls at some point in time, looking at Xiao Chen in confusion. In the Blue Dragon ancient city, the Blue Dragon statue suddenly appeared in the mountain range where the ancient Tao platform was. The Blue Dragon statue swam around the mountain range, its spiritual eyes looking at the thunderclouds, filled with confusion. Rumble. The dragon spirit controlled the ancient Blue Dragon statue to swim around continuously until its entire body emerged from the mountain range. The countless wandering dragon souls in the city entered the Blue Dragon statue. In the next moment, the Blue Dragon statue used its colossal body to encase the entire Blue Dragon ancient city. Even when the golden armored army attacked, the dragon spirit did not make a move. However, now, it seemed to fear that this tribulation lightning would affect the Blue Dragon ancient city, so it used its final trump card. Chapter 2103. After clearing the final layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, it would be the 12th layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. At that time, when the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation reached the 12th layer, it would be at peak consummation. The cultivation technique that had accompanied Xiao Chen for 47 years would also reach its peak. Xiao Chen had experienced the danger of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation's lightning tribulation long ago. He had narrowly escaped death several times. If it wasn't for Ao Jiao blocking the last lightning tribulation for him, Xiao Chen would have died without a doubt. The final lightning tribulation would definitely be extremely dangerous, with only a slim chance of survival. However, Xiao Chen did not feel any fear in his heart. He was no longer the same as when he first underwent his tribulation in the Sky Dome realm. He had already undergone his tribulation several times. Furthermore, he was already a great perfection sovereign personage and had cultivated his Thunder Great Tao to the peak. If nothing unexpected happened, he was very confident of clearing the final lightning tribulation of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. Thunder clouds rolled in the sky, creating a myriad of phenomena. Sometimes, it was like tens of thousands of horses galloping, sometimes it was like angry waves roaring, and sometimes it was like thousands of troops passing through. "He's here!" Xiao Chen exclaimed softly and opened his eyes. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of him. It was a bolt of lightning that descended from the sky. It tore through the darkness and illuminated all directions. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He closed his eyes again and allowed the lightning to fall on his body. What? In an instant, the lightning on Xiao Chen's body was dazzling and dazzling, erupting with a light comparable to the sun. In the distance, the black and white eggs felt slightly surprised. Xiao Chen had cultivated the Blue Dragon Divine Body and awakened it again. He had already reached 20% of a pure-blooded Blue Dragon. With just the strength of his physical body, he would be able to withstand a few lightning tribulations. After all, this was just the beginning. The best part was yet to come. That's right. Preserve your true essence and soul power. I don't know how many waves of lightning tribulation there will be. If my quintessential essence and soul power dry up at the end, it will be very troublesome. White Egg nodded slightly and said softly. However, a trace of doubt appeared in Black White's eyes. She said in a deep voice, "Strange. Why is it different from what we thought?" White Egg looked. What happened? A Tao disc appeared behind Xiao Chen, who was bathed in the light of the tribulation lightning. That was the Tao circle of the great Tao of thunder. As the power of the thunder tribulation poured into it, it shone with divine light. The sky was filled with boundless thunderclouds that resembled an upside-down ocean. The waves roared angrily, and it was a majestic sight. Lightning flashed in the sky, and strong winds howled. It was dark and stifling. Sand and pebbles flew everywhere on the ground. The dust was like snow, dancing wildly in the wind. Endless sands swept through the entire secret realm. However, under the contrast of this Tao ring, Xiao Chen was quiet and peaceful amidst this dangerous and oppressive phenomenon. He was like a saint bathed in divine light. He is using the lightning tribulation to break through to the Tao domain. White Egg was startled. It had not expected Xiao Chen to be so ambitious. To think that Xiao Chen dared to split his attention while undergoing his tribulation, using tribulation lightning to break through his Thunder Dao domain. However, Xiao Chen was indeed a genius. He used tribulation lightning to stimulate his Dao domain to make a breakthrough. Was there a more effective method in the world than this? The miraculous effects of divine pills and natural treasures were not as direct as tribulation lightning. The only thing was that once Xiao Chen went overboard, he would end up losing himself. Rumble! Tribulation lightning descended in waves. Thousands of mysterious phenomena appeared in this land of the blood moon. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and endured, not blocking at all, letting the tribulation lightning baptize his physical body. The terrifying tribulation lightning inflicted unimaginable pain on Xiao Chen's physical body. Each baptism looked resplendent and dignified, but in reality, it was even more painful than being hacked into pieces. This was because Xiao Chen could not block it at all. It was like a soldier taking off his armor and walking through a rain of arrows. Slowly, the Dao might on Xiao Chen's body grew stronger. The aura radiated by the Dao disc formed an invisible barrier for Xiao Chen. He's betting all his hopes on his Thunder Great Path. If his Thunder Great Dao cannot break through to the Dao domain, he will definitely die under the tribulation lightning. How ruthless! Black Egg sighed softly, its tone filled with worry. The benefit of giving up on resisting was that the tribulation lightning's energy could perfectly infuse into his great Dao energy. This allowed Xiao Chen to rely on the tribulation lightning to break through bottlenecks to the greatest extent. However, the drawback was clear. Right now, Xiao Chen could only rely on his physical body and Dao might to block the tribulation lightning. It was very possible that the tribulation lightning would strike him to death before he comprehended a Dao domain. The second wave of tribulation lightning is here. White Egg looked at the sky. An impenetrable electric black hole had already formed above Xiao Chen's head. Through the black hole, Xiao Chen could vaguely see a sea of pure tribulation lightning inside. The black hole spun continuously, storing up power for the second wave of tribulation lightning. Right after White Egg spoke, many lightning-materialized weapons flew out from the sky at Xiao Chen. There were spears, sabers, swords, moons, and all sorts of weapons flying at Xiao Chen. Each lightning-materialized weapon contained a deep Dao, even more terrifying than a real Dao tool. Kasi. In the next moment, thousands of weapons attacked. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and tightly clenched his right fist. Xiao Chen's veritable essence energy and vital qi surged, and an indistinct 10,000 dragons picture appeared behind him. However, when the lightning Dao tools were about to charge over, determination flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes, and he slowly loosened his right fist. Xiao Chen allowed the thousands of lightning Dao tools to attack his physical body. Come! Bang! 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 Explosions immediately rang out on the surface of Xiao Chen's body. Every explosion was startling, leaving horrifying wounds on Xiao Chen's body. However, Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and did not make a sound, enduring it silently. When this wave of tribulation lightning was over, Xiao Chen's body was riddled with holes. There was practically no place left unscathed. Xiao Chen's entire body was charred black, a terrible sight to behold. He looked like a beggar in a sorry state. Only the Dao disc behind Xiao Chen remained holy, giving off an even more resplendent light. The hazy Dao might strengthen significantly again. It's still not enough. Xiao Chen sensed his Dao domain and discovered that it was still an indiscernible door away from the Dao domain. He still could not break that door. It was something that could be seen but not reached. It made one feel helpless and somewhat despair. When others comprehend the Dao domain, it takes at least 100 years, at most 400 to 500 years. That is if they have good talent. I do not have that much time, so I can only continue like this. I can only gamble with the tribulation lightning's power. I have to believe in myself. A determined light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Then he used his later heaven divine body to quickly recover his physical body. Even in despair and helplessness, he could not give up hope. Xiao Chen's physical body had just recovered when the third wave of tribulation lightning charged over. This time, The tribulation lightning that descended materialized many famous mountains and great rivers. The tribulation lightning mercilessly rained down on Shaoqun, suppressing the world. Boom, boom, boom. The speed at which the thunderous mountain fell was like hailstones. They did not give Shaoqun a chance to catch his breath. Soon, this lightning mountain pressed him into the ground. Strong winds howled, and sand flew for 5,000 kilometers around. The lightning mountains continuously crashed down, not giving Shaoqun a chance to catch his breath. Shaoqun saw the lightning mountains descend continuously, completely drowning out Shaoqun's figure. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. He can't be dead, right? White Egg's heart skipped a beat, startled by this scene. However, it could not help wanting to charge forward. However, Black Egg held it back. Black Egg said seriously, "Don't act rashly. Look, that old dragon is not moving." Black Egg looked around and saw the eyes of the blue dragon statue surrounding the ancient city flickering with spiritual light as it stared at the lightning mountains, not moving at all. Boom! All of a sudden, a beam of light burst forth. A terrifying Dao aura shattered the descending lightning mountain into pieces. A figure soared into the air in the darkness, showing a determined and expressionless face. It was Shaoqun. Shaoqun's Thunder Dao was one step closer to a Dao domain. Now, he could clearly see what that invisible door looked like. Shaoqun's comprehension increased, and his Dao might instantly strengthened, blocking the descending lightning mountains. Shaoqun made good use of his time to recover from his injuries, not daring to waste a single second. Soon, the fourth wave of tribulation lightning descended. This time, huge cauldrons containing Dao charm descended. Shaoqun's physical body had just recovered. Before he could forget the pain from the lightning mountains, he had to endure the damage from the huge cauldrons. Fifth wave, sixth wave, seventh wave. Every time there was a lightning tribulation, Shaoqun thought that he would be struck down. However, he always managed to stand up at the last moment. Using his strong blue dragon divine body, Shaoqun forcefully endured the waves of tribulation lightning. Others only felt that Shaoqun had relied on luck to clear the first stage against Gong Liangyu. However, no one knew how much Shaoqun had paid to get to where he was today. In the secret realm, no one knew what kind of bitterness and persistence Shaoqun had hidden behind his shocking trump cards. After forcefully enduring the seventh wave of tribulation lightning, Shaoqun's physical body could no longer recover. His injuries accumulated continuously. His body was destroyed and healed over and over again. Even after awakening his blue dragon divine body once, he was somewhat lacking, unable to provide much help to Shaoqun. The eighth wave of tribulation lightning arrived. Formless lightning. Shaoqun, who was preparing to deal with the tribulation lightning, suddenly cried out miserably. To think that the tribulation lightning of this stage was hidden in the wind, in the air. It was formless and invisible and untouchable. However, it was everywhere. The wind blew gently, and thousands of tribulation lightning streaked across Shaoqun's body like knives. This wave of tribulation lightning was unblockable, unheard of or seen before. Oh no! White Egg could not help exclaiming, "This is the formless lightning that Master once mentioned. Even if Shaoqun uses his full power, he might not be able to endure it. He has to give up on breaking through to the Dao domain. Otherwise, he will die for sure." Chapter 2104. The formless lightning was shadowless and formless. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to hide. Shaoqun clenched his teeth and did his best to maintain his calm, maintaining the thunder great Dao. He had never seen such tribulation lightning before. He had not even heard of it. Shaoqun did not know how to deal with it. If this continued, this formless lightning would slowly grind his physical body into dust, not leaving anything behind. Calm down. Calm down. At the critical moment, Shaoqun stabilized his emotions. This concerned his life and death. He needed to think of a way to deal with the formless lightning. Shaoqun's thoughts raced. Thousands of ideas appeared in his mind in an instant. First, the formless lightning was definitely a false proposition. If it were truly formless, it would not hurt him. How to deal with it was the key. Did it merge with the wind? Xiao Chen thought of this possibility. The wind moved slightly, and his physical body felt like it was being cut by a knife. This was the most direct explanation. If that was the case, there was a way to block it. Xiao Chen took a deep breath, and his vital qi surged. Enduring the intense pain, his entire body trembled ferociously. Bang! A strong wind blew on the surface of Xiao Chen's body, forming an invisible wind wall in front of him. Cut. The terrifying lightning of the 5 stars arrived again, but it was ineffective. Xiao Chen could not help screaming again. I thought wrong. The formless lightning did not merge the tribulation lightning with the wind. Am I going to give up? Continuing to maintain the Tao domain and letting his physical body endure the lightning tribulation to break through to the Tao domain seemed somewhat unrealistic. If he lost his life, what Tao domain was there? Damn it. However, Xiao Chen was not willing to give up like this. After enduring 7 waves of tribulation lightning, his physical body had suffered unimaginable pain. After much difficulty, his Thunder Great Tao approached the Tao domain. If Xiao Chen gave up on this opportunity, who knew when he would get another chance to break through to the Tao domain? The black and white eggs felt anxious. Right now, Xiao Chen's physical body continuously suffered the torture of the formless lightning in the air. This 8th wave of tribulation lightning was somewhat ridiculous. Xiao Chen's physical body already reached the brink of collapse at any moment. I already came this far. I absolutely cannot give up. Wasn't the path of a martial artist just like that? Since ancient times, those who had established the hegemony of a dynasty, the ambitious and ruthless people of their generation, had all walked back and forth between life and death countless times. Xiao Chen thought to himself, I have to find the mystery behind the formless lightning. If it wasn't melted into the wind, then where was this invisible lightning hidden? Thoughts flashed through Xiao Chen's mind like lightning. In an instant, thousands of ideas popped up, and then he rejected them one by one. Suddenly, a bright light flashed in Xiao Chen's mind, and he suddenly remembered. Space. That's right, it had to be space. This invisible lightning had perfectly fused with space. It had nothing to do with the wind. This wave of thunder tribulation was a perfect fusion of the great path of thunder and the great path of space, which was why it was invisible. However, knowing was one thing, but how to avoid it was the key. Right now, the most important thing was that his physical body couldn't hold on much longer. He had to buy some time for his physical body. Think of a way, I can do it, I can definitely do it. Under the torture of the invisible lightning, Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and his eyes turned red. He stubbornly refused to admit defeat. Death God Mask. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen thought of the Death God Mask he obtained. Without even thinking, he quickly took it out. Aside from isolating one's aura, the Death God Mask also had 2 secret techniques, the Soul Attack, Death God Chop, and Void Shadow. Whoosh! After executing the secret technique, Void Shadow, Xiao Chen's physical body slowly turned illusory and vanished. Xiao Chen's illusory state was extremely short, just 2 or 3 seconds. However, these 2 or 3 seconds, these 2 or 3 precious seconds, gave Xiao Chen a chance to catch his breath, pulling his physical body back from the brink of collapse. When Xiao Chen reappeared, a portion of his physical injuries had already recovered. He had narrowly escaped death. Xiao Chen was like wild grass that had regained new life, showing vigorous life force. Under the mask, his eyes filled with determination and calmness. After executing the secret technique once, I won't be able to execute it again for a while. I can only rely on myself now. Xiao Chen calmly analyzed the situation. Since he had merged with space, it was already impossible to avoid it. All that remained was to quickly break through to the Tao domain while his newly recovered physical body could still last for a while. Right now, his physical body could last for another 15 minutes under the assault of this formless lightning. 15 minutes is enough. If I do not break through to the Tao domain in 15 minutes, then I can only blame my bad luck and fate. After figuring this out, Xiao Chen's heart calmed down again. The terrifying mysterious phenomena in the surroundings and the horrifying lightning black hole hiding above could not disrupt his emotions. After removing the death god mask, Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and started his final gamble. The formless lightning tribulation brought destructive damage to the physical body. However, it was also of great help to breaking through to the Dao domain. Xiao Chen could clearly sense that every bolt of formless lightning could loosen the bottleneck of his Dao domain. The heavenly Dao was merciless. The formless lightning continued to torture Xiao Chen coldly. In the distance, the black and white eggs did not know what to say when they saw that Xiao Chen still persisted. At the crucial moment, the black and white eggs could not help Xiao Chen. They could only pray for Xiao Chen. At the place where the tribulation took place, Xiao Chen's newly recovered physical body quickly became riddled with holes and injuries. However, the Dao disc behind him remained resplendent and dazzling from start to finish, flickering with light. At this moment, the brilliance of the Dao ring was extremely bright. It gave the feeling of a silkworm about to break out of its cocoon, putting in its final effort and struggle. "It looks like he is about to break through?" White Egg said joyfully as it watched the Dao disc behind Xiao Chen slowly close up. "This wave of tribulation lightning will be over soon." Good things came in pairs. The Dao disc behind Xiao Chen slowly closed up and condensed into a spot. The light that the Dao disc gave off made this dark world look like it was daytime. The eighth wave of tribulation lightning also slowly faded at this moment, significantly weakening. Good. This is good. As long as Xiao Chen breaks through to the Dao domain, the veritable essence energy and soul energy that he saved will be more than enough for him to clear the final wave of tribulation lightning. The black and white eggs rejoiced. Normally, tribulation lightning was split into 9 waves. After 9 waves, it would be over. After persisting for so long, Xiao Chen was finally going to get what he wanted. Boom! However, before the 8th wave of tribulation lightning completely faded, the 9th wave of tribulation lightning suddenly descended without any warning. The 9th wave of lightning tribulation suddenly descended, faster than anyone's reaction time. A vast sea turned into silver light and poured down from the terrifying lightning black hole in the sky. The vast sea was made of pure tribulation lightning. The speed at which it fell could not be measured with common sense. Whoosh! In an instant, the sea of lightning buried Xiao Chen and spread out further. Rumble! The ocean waves surged. This was a sea of thunder and lightning. The black hole in the dome continuously poured the water down. It looked like a hole had appeared in the sky, and the silver seawater poured down like lightning. There was no end to it. The black and white eggs were flabbergasted as they watched the sea swallow up Xiao Chen, who could not react at all. "Let's go!" When the black and white eggs startled to their senses, they discovered that Wang's sea was about to drown the entire secret realm. A terrifying sea of lightning surged in all directions like a flood. The tribulation lightning transformed into an ocean, forming this boundless ocean. No one knew how terrifying its might was. Feeling anxious, the black and white eggs leaped up and flew towards the blue dragon statue. In this mystic realm, there was no place that could guarantee absolute safety. Only the blue dragon statue that enveloped the entire ancient city was slightly safer. The water spread in all directions and soon, the entire mystic realm became a vast ocean. Even the blue dragon statue was engulfed in an ocean of lightning. The black and white eggs stood on the dragon's head, feeling somewhat stunned and speechless. At this moment, the 2 chatterboxes did not know what to say. The boundless ocean was the 9th wave of tribulation lightning. If there had been any living beings in this mystic realm, all of them would have died in that moment. The black clouds in the sky slowly scattered, and the lightning black hole slowly mended. The terrifying, mysterious phenomenon vanished. After the storm passed, the blood moon still enveloped this world. What cultivation technique does Egg cultivate? The formless lightning is already terrifying enough. However, what exactly is this 9th wave of tribulation lightning? A vast ocean appeared. The black and white eggs said softly. The scene before them already surpassed their understanding. Back when they followed their master, they had never experienced such a lightning tribulation, so they knew nothing about it. This is a lightning sea from the primal chaos space. It is normal that you two fools do not know about it. Just at this moment, another voice rang out beside the black and white eggs, startling them. When White Egg reacted and realized that it was the blue dragon statue's dragon spirit speaking, it retorted with an upset expression, "Who says we do not know? We just do not want to say. Stop being so long-winded. If you continue, I will toss you two down." The black and white eggs quickly shut up. There was a lightning sea below. Although the two would not die if they went down, they were not willing to suffer such torture. Egg, do we still have a chance to survive? Black Egg asked carefully after a moment of silence. If you comprehend the Thunder Dao domain at the last moment, you should be able to survive. The two of you are forged from divine materials and do not have physical bodies. You can go down and take a look, the dragon spirit said after some thought. It wanted the black and white eggs to go down and take a look. Whether Xiaochen lived or died, it had to figure out what was going on. Upon hearing that they wanted to go down the lightning sea, the black and white eggs immediately started pushing the responsibility around. Black Egg asked White Egg to go down, and White Egg asked Black Egg to go down. As the two argued endlessly, piercing sparks of electricity rang out. The desolate slave Soul Reaper leaped into the lightning sea. A wave of lightning splashed out, and the water splashed onto its huge body, crackling and flickering. The desolate slave Soul Reaper pretended not to hear anything. It walked on the lightning sea, heading for where Xiaochen underwent his tribulation. "Alright, silly egg is going down. The two of us do not need to go down." The black and white eggs immediately rejoiced and stopped arguing, watching quietly. "How noisy! The two of you should go down and help as well." The dragon spirit snorted coldly and shook its hand. The black and white eggs let out startled cries as they fell into the lightning sea. Chapter 2105. The black and white eggs cried out endlessly in the lightning sea. However, since they already went down, there was no point in going back up. Together with the desolate slave Soul Reaper, the black and white eggs started searching for Xiaochen in the lightning sea. The lightning sea before them was truly a vast ocean that filled the entire secret realm, stretching out as far as the eye could see. It was no exaggeration to say that searching for a person was like searching for a needle in a haystack. The most important thing was that this was a sea of lightning. Soul energy could not penetrate it at all. When the viscous seawater touched it lightly, sparks flew everywhere, crackling and exploding non-stop. Undercurrents surged in the seawater. Occasionally, huge waves surged up. Even sovereign personages had to retreat. Otherwise, they would either die or be injured. Fortunately, the black and white eggs and the desolate slave Soul Reaper were not human cultivators and did not have bodies of flesh and blood. Otherwise, they would not last long in this lightning sea. What a huge wave! The energy in this water is chaotic. It is really hard to find him. Black Egg dived for a while before flying out, kicking up a wave and sending out electric light. Z. Electric sparks flickered endlessly. The black and white eggs were at their wits' end. This was really hard to find. Walking in this lightning sea was extremely difficult. The undercurrents surged in the water. Xiaochen's body was definitely not where it was originally. If the undercurrents swept up Xiaochen and got carried away, there would be no way to find him. The black and white eggs could only wait for the lightning sea to scatter before starting their search. However, it was hard to say whether they could find Xiaochen at that time. The desolate slave Soul Reaper walked in the lightning sea and arrived at the place where Xiaochen underwent his tribulation. Its huge body half knelt in the sea. It stretched its hand down and searched around, but it could not find anything. Do you think Egg got blasted into nothing by the lightning sea at the last moment? White Egg asked somewhat worriedly. Right now, it was very difficult for them to walk in the water. It was hard to imagine how Xiaochen, who had endured the impact of the seawater and then got submerged, could survive. Black Egg looked at the lightning sea and said helplessly, "Stop speaking nonsense. How can an acquired divine body that awakened once be destroyed so easily? His physical body is definitely still there. Whether he is dead or alive is hard to say. Poor egg. Boom. On the vast ocean, a wave surged. The wave was 1,000 feet high, and there seemed to be a figure on the top of the wave. It's Dandan. White Egg's eyes lit up as it exclaimed in pleasant surprise. So. Black and White Egg got up at the same time and chased after the surging waves. They had to catch Xiaochen before he went down. Otherwise, if he sank to the bottom of the sea, no one knew when he would reappear again. However, as the waves slowly sank, the Black and White Eggs were still some distance away. Shwa. Just as the Black and White Eggs felt helpless, Xiaochen's sinking physical body flew up ferociously. It was the desolate slave Soul Reaper. It pulled Xiaochen over with a palm strike and took a look. Then he slowly put down Xiaochen and gently tossed him to the Black and White Eggs before returning alone. He's still alive. He did not die. It looks like it was as that old dragon said. Xiaochen managed to comprehend the Thunder Dao domain at the last moment. Hurry up and go up. After checking Xiaochen's aura, the Black and White Eggs rejoiced. When they turned their heads to look for the desolate slave Soul Reaper, it was already nowhere to be seen. Xiaochen felt very tired. His eyelids felt heavy, and he could not open his eyes. Xiaochen's consciousness turned blurry, not knowing what happened. He tried to open his eyes but could only open a crack. Through the crack, Xiaochen seemed to see the Black and White Eggs. Then he fell unconscious. When Xiaochen woke up again, 6 days had passed. When Xiaochen opened his eyes, the familiar blood moon hanging high in the sky entered his eyes. "You're awake?" A voice rang out by Xiaochen's ear. It was White Egg's voice. Xiaochen stood up and moved slightly. Then he heard the bones in his entire body crackle like beans being fried, giving off crunching sounds. After the sounds faded, Xiaochen stretched his body and immediately felt incredibly comfortable, delighted. Xiaochen clenched his fist. The energy contained in his hand delighted him. "How long did I sleep for?" Xiaochen asked Black Egg. He remembered comprehending the Thunder Dao domain at the last moment. However, before Xiaochen could feel happy, a pile of silver light struck him and sent him into a severe coma. Feeling like he had slept for too long, Xiaochen worried that he would miss the Heavenly Alliance's second stage of the test. 6 days. Black Egg said to Xiaochen as he leaned over. Since when was there a sea?" Xiaochen turned his head to take a look and was startled. He saw a boundless ocean at the bottom of the cliff. Look at how frightened you are. This is after the tide ebbed. The previous few times, the entire secret realm was flooded. What did you think it was? A sea of lightning. Thanks to you, this is your 9th wave of tribulation lightning. Back then, the two of us were badly frightened. That old dragon in the city said that it was some sea of lightning in the primal chaos space. I wonder how it became your tribulation lightning. Speaking of this, you have to thank us properly. Right. Back then, this sea drowned you, and we did not even know if you were dead or alive. The two of us nearly lost our lives when we went down to fish you up. That was a vast sea. It was difficult to move. Don't forget how good we were to you, Egg. The Black and White Eggs revealed their chatty nature once more. Xiaochen only said one sentence, and the two of them started talking again, preventing him from interrupting. However, Xiaochen finally understood what was going on. When he stood up and looked at the sea below, he immediately felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, he had successfully comprehended a Dao domain and broken through to the final layer of the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation. With this tribulation, Xiaochen could be considered to have undergone a nirvanic rebirth, undergoing a complete transformation. That's right. The two of us have already adjusted to peak sovereign personage. Let's fight against each other. Quickly. Don't dawdle. The Black and White Eggs felt itchy, urging Xiaochen to fight against them. Xiaochen really wanted to test his current strength. What were his chances of defeating the Black and White Eggs, who were peak sovereign personages? Xiaochen's original plan was to successfully break through to Great Perfection Sovereign Personage and comprehend a Dao domain. Then he would fight the Black and White Eggs to test his strength. However, the plan could not keep up with the changes. He had already been here for 8 days. He had disappeared for 8 days, and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was still waiting for a reply. Xiao Chen had to return quickly lest the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor worry. Sorry, next time. I have something urgent to look for now. After Xiao Chen rejected the black and white eggs, he turned to leave. Just at this moment, a tall figure appeared in the blood moon. Death Qi surrounded this figure, showing no expression. Under the moonlight, this figure appeared lonely and desolate. It was the desolate slave Soul Reaper. The desolate slave Soul Reaper held many sovereign emperor corpses in its hand as it headed for the Blue Dragon ancient city alone. Seemingly noticing Xiao Chen's gaze, the desolate slave Soul Reaper stopped under the blood moon and turned its head to look at Xiao Chen. As their gazes met, Xiao Chen saw that Soul Reaper's eyes were turbid, dim, and lifeless, filled with death qi. As a desolate slave, Soul Reaper was somewhat special compared to the other desolate slaves. It seemed like a strand of wool remained. However, in the end, it was just a dead person. The desolate slave Soul Reaper turned its head away, no longer paying attention to Xiao Chen. Then, it slowly headed for the Blue Dragon ancient city, clad in a faint layer of scarlet moonlight. For some reason, Xiao Chen felt sorrow in his heart as he looked at the desolate slave Soul Reaper. Many years ago, Soul Reaper might have been a peak expert of the Blue Dragon bloodline. He must have been very famous when he was alive. He should not be living like this. Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he looked at Soul Reaper's back, remaining silent for a long time. After Soul Reaper vanished, entering the Blue Dragon ancient city, Xiao Chen soared into the air and flew towards the blood moon. After returning to his residence in Desolate City, before Xiao Chen could catch his breath, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's voice rang out in his ears. Quickly come and see me. After disappearing silently for 8 days, Xiao Chen did not dare to tarry. After calming his emotions, he went to the pavilion from the previous time. Great perfection, sovereign personage? You really succeeded. The resources I lent you were not wasted. When the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor saw Xiao Chen, he felt slightly startled. Doubt flashed in his eyes. He discovered that aside from Xiao Chen's significant improvement in cultivation, there seemed to be some other changes. Xiao Chen noticed the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's doubts. Fortunately, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not pursue the matter, allowing him to release his bated breath. Lord Shangguan sent news. The court doyen who took a fancy to you is the faux god Swearin Ji, the most ambitious person in the Heavenly Alliance. Chapter 2106. An ambitious person? Xiao Chen thought to himself. Then, he looked at the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor and asked, So, what is City Lord's suggestion? I do not recommend that you rely on Court Doyen Swearin Ji to enter the Heavenly Alliance. There are too many implications, and it will be hard for you to back out in the future. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was rather direct, calmly voicing his opinion. In that case, I'll reject it. Xiao Chen also calmly made his decision, not hesitating at all. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor looked at Xiao Chen in shock. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen answered so quickly. It looks like the fortuitous encounters in the past few days gave you a lot of confidence. In that case, I'll help you reject Lord Swearin Ji's invitation. After leaving the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's pavilion, Xiao Chen ran into Yun Fei and Lei Hao, the two true disciples of Peach Blossom City, on his way back. The two had not passed the test. Yun Fei, who originally had high hopes, had been eliminated at the very end. In the past few days, Yun Fei should have been asking around about the loser's arena before deciding whether to participate or not. Little brother Xiao Chen, where have you been the past few days? Lei Hao asked warmly when he saw Xiao Chen. I entered closed-door cultivation and only came out today. Yun Fei's expression suddenly changed in shock. After a while, he said, Congratulations. Lei Hao felt suspicious about why Yun Fei was congratulating him. Then he checked Xiao Chen's aura. When he discovered that Xiao Chen was already a sovereign personage like them, he could not help feeling shocked in his heart. This Xiao Chen before him was only 47 years old, but he was already a great perfection sovereign personage. However, Lei Hao still performed a cupped fist salute and said, Congratulations. No wonder little brother Xiaochen disappeared for the past few days. The two of us are truly ashamed of ourselves for little brother Xiaochen. Many thanks. Have you decided to participate in the losers arena? Xiaochen asked. Lei Hao and Yun Fei sighed upon hearing that, appearing somewhat dispirited. Lei Hao said, I've already given up. I already exchanged the faux god spirit jades for resources. Yun Fei has decided to continue participating. Yun Fei said sullenly, the losers challenge rules are a 10,000-person chaotic battle royale. 10,000 people will kill each other in a chaotic battle royale. Only one survivor will continue to participate in the 10,000-person chaotic battle royale. After the chaotic battles, the 10 spots for the Heavenly Alliance will be determined. When Xiaochen heard this, he was startled. The difficulty was truly terrifying. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was hellish. What are the rules for the winners group challenge? Lei Hao asked, finding it strange. Little brother Xiaochen, didn't the core doyens already take a fancy to you? Why are you still concerned about this? I just talked to the city lord and he has already rejected it. Lei Hao and Yun Fei were both shocked. They had never imagined that Xiaochen would agree to a core grand elder's request. This was simply inconceivable. It was something that others wouldn't even dare to dream of, yet Xiaochen had actually rejected it. Countless people would be heartbroken if they knew about this. They would have wasted such a great opportunity. Little brother Xiaochen, you have to consider this carefully. The rules for the winners group challenge are 100 people fighting each other in a chaotic battle royale. Only one person can survive. Then, 100 people will obtain the qualifications to enter the Heavenly Alliance. The difficulty is no easier than the losers group. Lei Hao advised sincerely, as the individual strength of the winners group was much higher than that of the losers group. While it looked like a 100-person chaotic battle royale, these 100 people were all peak sovereign personages who had survived the first stage of intense battles. Given Xiaochen's strength, even if he advanced to great perfection sovereign personage, his chances of standing out would still be very slim. Yun Fei interrupted, Lei Hao, there is no need to advise him. Little brother Chen definitely can think of what we know. He definitely has his own determination to reject it. Furthermore, I don't think little brother Chen is someone who makes decisions easily. Xiaochen thought to himself, I made this decision rather easily, without much conflict or hesitation. The pros and cons would not make it too difficult for Xiaochen to decide. Since Xiaochen was an ambitious person, he definitely had something in mind and would definitely make a request in the future. Clearly, Xiaochen could not accept such a request. It was better to rely on oneself than on others. The best way was to rely on himself to enter the Heavenly Alliance. 2 days later, Xiaochen's group appeared on the Starry Heavens Dao platform together with the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. When Xiaochen appeared, he immediately attracted the attention of countless people. The sovereign emperors on the thrones in the Starry Heavens could not help casting their gazes on Xiaochen. They had all heard that this youth had rejected the core doyen's request. After hearing this news, everyone had an expression of disbelief on their faces. They couldn't imagine it. What kind of person would make such a rash decision? Either that person was a fool or overly confident in himself. To think that Xiaochen does not show any expression at all. He looks very calm. This fellow is really hateful. He wasted a chance for nothing. If only it were me. To think that he rejected the core doyen's invitation. Could it be that he thinks that he can pass the test in the winners group? He really does not know how to conduct himself. That lord will probably be very angry when he finds out about this. Indeed. If it were me, I would be angry as well. A faux god lowered his status to invite you, yet he rejected it. Discussions broke out everywhere. They could not understand Xiaochen's decision. Out of respect for the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, the many sovereign emperors did not discuss it. At this moment, the happiest person was naturally Sovereign Emperor Xinggu. Ha! Little brother Peach Blossom, you are here. Whoosh! Sovereign Emperor Xinggu actually descended from the starry heavens and arrived before Xiaochen and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. This enthusiasm came from the bottom of his heart, and was not the slightest bit hypocritical. After learning that the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had rejected Sovereign Emperor Shangguan's invitation, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu felt very happy. After the shock, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu rejoiced. This way, only his follower, Nangong Feng, would enter the Heavenly Alliance in the entire Desolate City test zone. This little brother Xiao Qin is truly worthy of this old man's admiration. You have courage. Youths should have the drive and sharpness of youths. This old man believes that if I were your age, I would definitely not be as decisive as you. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu said with a smile as he shifted his gaze to Xiao Qin. Senior Xinggu, you are too polite. Xiao Qin replied calmly. Ha! I'm not being polite. This old man speaks from the bottom of my heart. Youths like you are becoming increasingly rare. You want to rely on your own strength to pass the test. Who would dare to underestimate such pride? I'll put my words out there. If you can enter the Heavenly Alliance, this old man will personally reward you with 30 million primeval heavenly pills. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu laughed loudly, feeling very good. However, he smiled coldly in his heart. It would be strange if you can pass the test. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said with some mockery, Brother Xinggu is really forthright. Since you admire my followers so much, why not reward him now? I can see that you are smiling very happily. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu said somewhat embarrassedly, there is no point in giving it now. If little brother Xiao Qin loses his drive, I would be doing something bad out of good intentions, losing my motivational effect. Xiao Qin said sincerely, many thanks for Sovereign Emperor Xingji's favor. Actually, you can give me 30 million primeval heavenly pills first. After I pass, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu can give me another 70 million primeval heavenly pills. That would be even more motivational. This junior will thank Sovereign Emperor Xinggu in advance. Good. Lord Shangguan, who was on the throne in the starry heavens, smiled and said, It is rare for Xinggu to put so much thought into this. It is settled. If little friend Xiao Qin can rely on his own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance and bring glory to my desolate city, I will personally reward Xiao Qin with another 20 million primeval heavenly pills. The other sovereign emperors immediately agreed, praising Sovereign Emperor Xinggu and Lord Shangguan for their enthusiasm. Many people agreed, but no one was foolish enough to take out primeval heavenly pills to motivate Xiao Qin. To sovereign emperors, primeval heavenly pills were nothing. However, 30 million was a heart-wrenching loss. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu was immediately stupefied. He had made a huge profit this time, digging a hole for himself and burying himself in. Initially, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu was just too excited and casually made some empty promises. Unexpectedly, Xiao Qin made a fool out of him. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled and said, Brother Xinggu, everyone is looking at you. Ha! Little friend Xiao Qin, you have to work hard. My primeval heavenly pills are not easy to obtain. Don't embarrass our desolate city. Before the gazes of the sovereign emperors, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu gritted his teeth and took out a primeval heavenly pill. Then he tossed it heavily at Xiao Qin's face. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's smile did not change. However, he felt like a fool in his heart, extremely upset. However, Xiao Qin could not be bothered with all this, taking it calmly. Before the victor's group test started, Xiao Qin had already obtained 30 million primeval heavenly pills for no reason. What could be happier than this? Chapter 2107. No matter how depressed Sovereign Emperor Xinggu was, the Heavenly Alliance's test still had to continue. The purple-haired old man waved his hand to silence everyone. Then he said, You probably already know the rules of the second stage of the Heavenly Alliance's test, so I will not repeat them. Nangong Feng. Nangong Feng took a step forward, cupped his hands, and said loudly, Greetings, Lord Shangguan. The difficulty of this Heavenly Alliance's test is the highest in history. You should be the one with the highest chance of passing the test in my desolate city test zone. Don't disappoint me. Don't let my desolate city test area get wiped out. Everyone is watching you. The purple-haired old man said gravely to Nangong Feng, filled with hope. Nangong Feng felt immense pressure. he said in a deep voice, "I will definitely do my best to pass the second stage." The purple-haired old man looked around and turned his head. Xiaochen. Yes. Xiaochen took a step forward, bowed slightly and said softly, "Greetings, Lord Shangguan." As the purple-haired old man looked at Xiaochen, a complicated expression appeared on his face. He really could not understand this young man. This was a great opportunity that many people dreamed of, but he actually rejected it. However, that made sense. Xiaochen was the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciple. Back then, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor had retreated bravely. Do your best. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I have high hopes for you. Even if you cannot pass the Heavenly Alliance's test this time, as long as you are willing, I can represent the Heavenly Alliance and keep the doors open to you. The purple-haired old man's words were considered a very high evaluation. He was quite optimistic about Xiaochen. Xiaochen already had such accomplishments at such a young age. As long as he became a sovereign emperor, he would definitely become a faux god. Thank you, Lord Shangguan. The purple-haired old man's gaze swept across the crowd and landed on those who were preparing to participate in the loser's arena. He said softly, "The loser's arena is not without hope. You all know how cruel the loser's arena is, yet you still dare to continue challenging. I admire you all. Begin." With the many sovereign emperors driving, the starry heavens Dao platform slowly spun. Xiaochen and Nangong Feng stood together. The other people from the loser's bracket stood to one side. "Can you tell us why you gave up on the Core Doyen's invitation?" Nangong Feng looked at Xiaochen curiously. Many people did not understand this question. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then he answered honestly, "I do not want too many restrictions. I hope to rely on my own strength to enter the Heavenly Alliance." Surprise flashed in Nangong Feng's eyes. He could sense the truth in Xiaochen's words. These were Xiaochen's true thoughts. Good luck. Such an answer caused Nangong Feng to think highly of the other party. Then he said his blessing softly. The formation was activated. First, the thousands of people in the loser's bracket disappeared from the Dao platform. Following that, Xiaochen and Nangong Feng disappeared. The losers group would have 10,000 people on the same stage and engage in a chaotic battle. Only one person would survive and continue on to the next round. Out of hundreds of thousands of people, they had to kill their way to 10 people before they could obtain the final quota. The victors group would have 100 people on the same platform. One person from each secret realm would survive and enter the Heavenly Alliance. Shwa. 100 light screens appeared in the starry heavens. The cultivators who passed the first stage appeared before everyone's eyes. The light screens for the loser's bracket did not appear. In theory, they were all eliminated. Lord City Lord, Xiaochen is on the light screen for Dao Platform 8. Old Chui immediately informed the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor when he discovered Xiaochen. A continent floated in the starry heavens on the light screen for Dao Platform 8. To sovereign personages, a continent's size could be seen with one glance. There was nowhere to hide, and there was no way to hide. At this moment, all the sovereign emperors in Desolate City focused their gazes on the light screens for Xiaochen and Nangong Feng. An intense battle would start soon. Those who could enter the second stage were all peak sovereign personages. There were no weaklings. This was because the first stage was already sufficiently cruel. The weak would not be able to pass it by luck. As Xiaochen stood on a mound on the continent, he looked around. This continent was filled with the auras of experts. Everyone was accumulating power in the dark, waiting for the battle that was about to begin. 1 in 100 would be chosen, and the survivor would be king. Whoever survived to the end would obtain the right to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Xiaochen looked around and discovered a familiar figure. Gong Liangyu. That was right. It was Xiaochen's old rival, Gong Liangyu. He and Xiaochen were actually placed together again in the second stage. At this moment, Gong Liangyu sensed Xiaochen's presence. Their gazes met, and an invisible clash immediately ensued. Gong Liangyu's lips curled up slightly as he said softly, "Interesting." Xiaochen felt slightly stunned, somewhat surprised. However, he quickly calmed down. The battle had not started yet. Everyone was restricted by the realm spirit. The most important thing was to remain calm. The many sovereign emperors in the starry heavens above desolate cities set this place abuzz. Gong Liangyu and Xiao Chen both appeared in Dao Platform 8. It's over. Xiao Chen's situation was not optimistic in the first place. Now he runs into Gong Liangyu. Truly, enemies often cross paths. Aside from Gong Liangyu, there are many experts in Secret Realm 8 as well. I took a quick look. Several of them ranked within the top 100 of the previous stage. If Xiao Chen had known, would he have regretted rejecting Lord Suirenji's invitation? Originally, the sovereign emperors did not think much of Xiao Chen. Who could have expected that Xiao Chen and Gong Liangyu would end up in the same group again in the second stage? Some people even guessed that someone did this on purpose. After all, this was too much of a coincidence. Putting Xiao Chen and Gong Liangyu together in the second stage was simply not giving them a chance to survive. City Lord, aside from Gong Liangyu, there is another person called Lin Shi in Secret Realm 8. He also ranked within the top 20 of the first stage. There are 4 or 5 people in the top 100, all of whom are not to be trifled with, Old Shui said softly from beside the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. Old Shui, who was beside the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor, reported softly. Xiao Chen's situation was not optimistic. They are not easy to offend. How can Xiao Chen be easy to offend? It will not be easy for anyone to trample on Xiao Chen, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said indifferently. Although the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not think that Xiao Chen could become the final victor, he was very confident in Xiao Chen's strength. However, he was very confident in Xiao Chen's strength. Even if he failed, he would have to pay a sufficient price to obtain victory from his hands. Old Shui remained silent at the side. He did not know where the city lord got his confidence from. Was it because Xiao Chen broke through to great perfection sovereign personage? However, most of the people who passed the second stage were peak sovereign personages. Furthermore, they had remained at this peak for more than 100 years. Compared to the other participants, Xiao Chen's breakthrough was not considered a significant improvement. Whoosh! The familiar little light figure appeared on the continent. It looked at the crowd and said, "Congratulations to everyone for successfully entering the final stage of the Heavenly Alliance's test. In this stage, the survivor is king. Whoever survives to the end will qualify to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Whether you are willing or not, the continent under your feet will continuously shrink. In the end, it will only be able to withstand one person. Those who lose their footing will be eliminated. Now, I announce the official start of the second stage." Right after the realm spirit spoke, Xiao Chen felt the restrictions on his body vanish, allowing him to move freely. A chaotic battle instantly started. Without any hesitation, everyone found the nearby participants and mercilessly attacked. Kill! The most dazzling of the 100 participants, Gong Liangyu, unleashed his Dao domain and brandished his palms, sending palm strike after palm strike. Gong Liangyu continuously sent out heavy palm winds that were dense and dense. Furthermore, the palm winds contained even sharper sword lights. If one got careless and got struck by the sword chi, one would immediately suffer severe injuries. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying Gong Liangyu killed 2 genius participants. At this moment, the strength that Gong Liangyu displayed was even more horrifying than in the first stage. This made sense. After clearing this stage, no matter what, they could enter the Heavenly Alliance. There was no need to hide any strength at all. They just had to ensure their advancement. Aside from Gong Liangyu, Lin Shi and the others, who ranked in the top 10, fought with all their might, not holding back at all. Amid the chaotic battle, Xiao Chen showed a stern expression as he held the tyrant saber. His aura appeared very young among the 300 or 400-year-old sovereign personages. However, the killing intent and might contained in his aura were not vague at all. Xiao Chen held absolute confidence in his heart, not showing any fear at all. He calmly analyzed, at the end of this stage, it will definitely be a fight between kings. The weak will be eliminated first. Right now, Those peak experts are all releasing their auras to prove that they are qualified to participate in the end. There is no need for me to hide too much. I will end the battle quickly and prove my strength. Suddenly, a candle dragon image appeared behind Xiao Chen. A candle flame flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Immediately, the two peak sovereign personages charging at him burned with a terrifying ice flame. Terrifying ice flames burst out, burning his soul and body at the same time. Xiao Chen's gaze was cold and emotionless. He drew the tyrant saber and instantly sent out a strong saber intent. When he attacked, he executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber techniques, resolving the mundane. A swastika appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. Then, his face turned cold, losing all the expression that a person of the mundane should have. Since the mundane is resolved, it is eternal. An eternal and inextinguishable saber light flew out from Xiao Chen's chop. The ferocious and cold Buddhist might continuously clashed with the auras of the two peak sovereign personages. Damn it! What kind of flame is this? My speed has decreased significantly, and my soul is still burning. Quickly make a move. This saber light is not easy to deal with. After Xiao Chen used the candle dragon eye to burn the physical bodies and souls of the two peak sovereign personages, they had to face Xiao Chen's resolving the mundane. The two peak sovereign personages immediately panicked and flustered. Ding, ding, ding. After resolving the mundane, Xiao Chen executed his flawless saber Dao continuously. Using his body as a saber, his thoughts as a saber, and his heart as a saber, Xiao Chen erupted with his full power, not holding anything back. After 10 moves, he killed the two peak sovereign personages on the spot. Kasi, blood splattered everywhere, accompanied by disbelieving heads, appeared on the light screen. The group of sovereign emperors in the desolate city's sovereign emperor benches, including the purple-haired old man, were stunned. Xiao Chen easily killed two peak sovereign personages by himself. Chapter 2108. The chaotic battle started. This was the first time Xiao Chen used his full power since his tribulation. Xiao Chen already brought out his strongest strength. Within 10 moves, he killed two peak sovereign personages. Good. The purple-haired old man could not help praising loudly, his eyes lighting up. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu immediately felt somewhat weak. He smiled coldly in his heart. This is just the beginning. The best part is yet to come. This fellow is only this bit of strength. It is far from enough to clear this stage. Flawless saber technique, flying heaven stance. A figure soared into the air, and a moon descended. A bright moon descended from the sky. The participant fighting with Xiao Chen was stunned. Then he moved back in a fluster and sent out a resplendent sword light, trying to shatter this bright moon. Boom! However, when the bright moon shattered, a loud sound rang out. The participant vomited a mouthful of blood as the energy shock wave knocked him back. How can this saber intent be so strong? Horror flashed in this cultivator's eyes. Xiao Chen clearly did not comprehend the saber Dao domain, but his saber intent was somewhat ridiculously strong. Die! Heartbreaking stance. Xiao Chen shouted as his heart shattered. Intense pain spread throughout his body. Then, he turned into a flash of lightning and charged forward. Amid this boundless pain, Xiao Chen erupted with his full power. He turned into a flash of lightning and charged forward. It was too fast, too fast. Xiao Chen could not tell if it was a saber light or lightning light. By the time he startled to his senses, the saber in Xiao Chen's hand had already stabbed into the other party's forehead. Pusi! The saber pierced through the other party's head. The horrifying impact immediately caused the participant's body to explode. Even the realm spirit could not save him, and he died on the spot. No wonder Xiao Chen was so ruthless. In this final stage, no one would hide their strength. For the sake of a heavenly alliance spot, everyone would do their best, not holding anything back. If one showed mercy, one might be the one to die. Rumble. The continent started to crumble and shatter. Its surface area continued to shrink, forcing the remaining participants to fly to the center. The cruel killing had just begun. An even more intense clash was yet to come. The continent below was everyone's living space. The realm spirit had said that this continent would continuously shrink until only one person could survive. It was foreseeable that as the living space continued to shrink, the slaughter would become more and more intense. So powerful. Many people who noticed Xiao Chen felt their hearts skip a beat, and their expressions changed greatly. Then, Xiao Chen killed 2 peak sovereign personages in 10 moves and forcefully killed a participant, leaving the other party unable to retaliate. Those who could clear the first stage were all outstanding talents, sovereign personage elites. Every one of them was a peak existence among sovereign personages. They were not people that anyone could casually trample on. Was Yun Fei strong when he used the 13 wind-riding swords? However, even a strong sovereign personage like Yun Fei could not clear the first stage. One could easily imagine how horrifying the strength of a sovereign personage who cleared the first stage was. The more it was so, the more it proved how powerful Xiao Chen was now. Great perfection sovereign personage. He was not just a great perfection sovereign personage. He relied on his physical body to endure the heaven-shaking lightning tribulation until the end. Who could understand that kind of pain and bitterness? What do you want? What he wanted was to start a massacre now and rely on his own strength to advance into the Heavenly Alliance. I'll prove it to whoever says I can't. Figures flickered in the air. Xiao Chen's performance already inspired fear in the other participants. They needed to work together to deal with him. As the 10-odd candidates spoke, they soared into the air and surrounded Xiao Chen. One should not complain about being too eye-catching. The powerhouses of the Heavenly Alliance's upper echelon wanted true elites, powerful sovereign personages that were one in a million. Not only could one suppress one's opponent in a one-on-one battle, but one also needed sufficient strength and means to deal with such encirclement. In the future, after one became a Heavenly Alliance member, the dangers one would face would only be more difficult than now. Just look at the top 100. Gong Liangyu, Lin Shi, which of them was not? They faced the attacks of 10-odd participants. If one was a genius, one should not fear the jealousy of others or the encirclement of others. If one could endure it, one would qualify for the final test of this stage. If one could not, it would only mean that one was a fake genius, not someone the Heavenly Alliance needed. As Xiao Chen watched the 10-odd participants charge over, his expression did not change. He remained extremely calm. As long as he did not get surrounded and fall into an absolute disadvantage, he could fight. The purple thunder divine incantations circulated wildly in his body. With every step Xiao Chen took, the winds and clouds changed. Boundless electric light burst out of his body. Surround him. Seeing Xiao Chen move so fast, the others were startled and wanted to kill Xiao Chen. The most direct method was to surround him and merge their auras to suppress Xiao Chen at the same time. At that time, no matter who it was, they would not be able to breathe or move under the suppression of 10-odd peak sovereign personages' auras. Even Gong Liangyu would not be able to do anything. He would have to die. As Xiao Chen ran, he gently pushed the ground with his feet, and the ground cracked. A strong wind blew, and lightning flashed everywhere, kicking up sand into the air. 5-element divine lightning, thunder monarch spear. Xiao Chen used his Thunder Dao domain to drive the 5-element divine lightning, forming a short spear shooting out boundless electric light in his hand. Whoosh! Xiao Chen ferociously tossed out the short spear. In that instant, the resplendent electric light was dazzling, so piercing that others could not open their eyes. The short spear was so fast that the people chasing Xiao Chen could not dodge in time. Someone immediately cried out miserably. The short spear struck him, and his body exploded, turning him into a mangled mess. The strong impact of the short spear pierced through that person's chest, sending him flying. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Xiao Chen ran and leaped, he occasionally turned his head back. Then, the short spears driven by his Thunder Dao domain and the 5-element divine lightning flew out. Why did Xiao Chen modify the Thunder Monarch spear into a short spear? At this moment, its advantages became apparent. Although the spears were weaker, they could be formed faster and expended less energy. They could be formed continuously. As long as there were enough of them, the destructive power would be even greater. The many short spears became nightmarish existences to the participants chasing Xiao Chen. Their originally soaring auras fell to rock bottom as miserable cries rang out. Something's wrong. Quickly scatter. Slowly, the pursuers realized that something was wrong. Xiao Chen was not fleeing out of fear of them. Instead, he was trying to kill them all. However, it was already too late. The instant these people realized that something was wrong, Xiao Chen suddenly turned around. Firmament's rage. The great, desolate Aeon ancestor dragon's roar spread out in the world. A colossal hand containing saber light and lightning descended from the sky. Pa! After comprehending the Thunder Dao domain, be it Firmament's rage or the Thunder Monarch spear, their might had more than doubled. This colossal hand containing the rage of a great, desolate Aeon ancestor dragon descended ferociously. None of the people chasing Xiao Chen managed to escape. Xiao Chen remained expressionless as he grabbed with his 5 fingers. His palm immediately generated a huge suction. It grabbed all the examinees who were injured by the gigantic palm into its palm. Lightning and boundless saber light spread out in his palm. It was like a small world of hell. Xiao Chen ferociously clenched his fist. When he opened it again, boundless lightning and saber light spread out in all directions. A strong wind blew as blood rained down from the sky. Xiao Chen killed all the pursuers, not leaving a single one alive. Many of Xiao Chen's martial techniques were related to the Thunder Dao, allowing him to comprehend the Thunder Dao domain. Xiao Chen's increase in strength was not as simple as what the outside world understood. Advancing from small perfection sovereign personage to great perfection sovereign personage was a qualitative change. Looking around, there were less than 30% of the candidates left. However, the continuously collapsing continent left no space for everyone. The living space under them could not accommodate 30-odd people at all. Someone had to be eliminated or die before they could have a place to stand. Cruel. This was a truly miserable slaughter, far more terrifying than the first stage. The continuously shrinking living space forced everyone to kill each other. Coincidentally, the candidates who had existed for a longer time were definitely stronger existences. The slaughter would only become more intense. Everyone would have to bring out their full potential. At this point, no one could think about anything else. Whether it was the intense killing intent in the air or the shrinking living space, everyone had no choice but to continue fighting. Right now, this was not just a test of strength but also a test of mental state. This was equally cruel. Many of the participants paled somewhat. Sweat covered their foreheads as they panted heavily. The participants could not adapt to this miserable situation. Their hands, which held their sabers, trembled. Kill! The chaotic battle intensified. Xiao Chen showed a cold expression as he held up his tyrant saber. He did not show any fear in such a miserable situation. The advantage of his mental state allowed him to face all this calmly. His aura was not affected at all. On the contrary, some experts with weak mental states could bring out only 80 to 90% of their strength. The sovereign emperors sitting on their thrones in desolate cities' starry heavens could not say anything. Everyone stared at the light screen. This Xiao Chen had truly given them a pleasant surprise that they had not expected. Such a state of mind, such strength, it really allowed people to see what a true peerless monster was. No wonder Xiao Chen dared to reject Lord Swearenji's request. He really wanted to rely on his own strength to charge into the Heavenly Alliance step by step. Xiao Chen wanted to use his strength to silence all those who did not submit. Chapter 2109. At this point in the intense killing, what was more important was the test of one's mental state. One's mental state had always been important. However, it was not as obvious as one's cultivation, so one normally did not pay much attention to it. However, the Heavenly Alliance powerhouses were all peak experts with outstanding mental states. Naturally, they understood the importance of mental states. This stage was so intense, shrinking everyone's living space step by step. The participants were all participants with outstanding mental states. Compared to the truly intense scene, This was nothing. If one could not even endure the intense scene before them, they would end up like this if they ran into an even greater scene in the future. In reality, the remaining 30-odd people were about the same in terms of cultivation. Their combat prowess was already very close. Everyone had their own trump cards. They might have comprehended a Dao domain, grasped a peak secret technique, or used a different killing move. Everyone had a chance of defeating the other party. However, there was a problem with their mental states, preventing them from bringing out their strength. The result that awaited them was either a miserable death or being saved by a world spirit and sparing their lives. At this point in the Heavenly Alliance's test, luck no longer mattered. Mental states directly determined life and death. Boom. The land under Xiao Chen's feet shrank further, and the living space shrank further. The killing turned even more intense. The stench of blood lingered in the air. Many people felt fatigued. The pressure in their hearts magnified infinitely, preventing them from stabilizing their emotions. Xiao Chen's heart was as clear as a mirror. His eyes were like limpid autumn water, calm and unperturbed. Amid the intense killing, Xiao Chen's heart remained unmoved. His clear eyes always showed a trace of stubbornness and calmness. A figure entered Xiao Chen's vision. Without thinking, he materialized the heartbreaking stance with his tyrant saber. Ding. The saber and sword clashed, erupting with huge force. However, neither moved back. This was because the land under Xiao Chen's feet had shrunk to an extremely small size. No one knew if the land under Xiao Chen's feet would crumble the moment he moved back. Ding, ding, ding. In an instant, Xiao Chen exchanged more than 100 moves with the newcomer, not moving back at all. Their auras materialized thousands of mysterious phenomena as they clashed wildly, each trying to push the other back. However, after another 100 moves, the two still did not move back at all, evenly matched. The rhythm of the battle accelerated. For the first time, Xiao Chen felt that this was somewhat problematic. The other party should be within the top 100 of the first stage. The two of them fought endlessly, each using the sword Dao and saber Dao techniques they had mastered to the limit. They were evenly matched. Neither of them had any obvious weaknesses. The other party had the Wind Dao domain, but Xiao Chen also had the Earth Dao domain. The other party's cultivation was much higher than Xiao Chen's. However, Xiao Chen's saber Dao was slightly superior. It's Lin Shi. Many sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens recognized Xiao Chen's opponent. Zhang Xian gasped in shock. This was an existence whose strength was only inferior to Gong Liangyu in the 8th dueling ring. It was not Xiao Chen's but Lin. Gong. The Lin. The one was Xiao Lin. Was Lin's. Damn it. Why is the random person I chose so terrifyingly strong? Even if I defeat the other party, how am I supposed to fight Gong Liangyu? Am I doomed to not be able to enter the Heavenly Alliance? Frustration appeared in Lin Shi's heart. When he thought of a certain outcome, he could not help feeling frustrated. Indeed, even if he defeated Xiao Chen, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. He would have to pay a huge price. Indeed, even if he defeated Xiao Chen, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. He would have to pay a huge price. An opening. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. He sensed some fluctuations in his opponent's mental state, revealing an opening. In that instant, thousands of thoughts flashed in Xiao Chen's mind. Is there really an opening, or is this a trap? Should I fight it out? Fight it out. Without any hesitation, Xiao Chen decided to execute a killing move the instant the other party's mental state fluctuated. Dermic World. Xiao Chen's figure trembled slightly, and he immediately turned into a 3-kilometer-tall giant. The tyrant saber in his hand became 100 times larger. Without even thinking, Xiao Chen used his 3-kilometer-tall body to execute the flawless saber Dao. Void-breaking stance. When Lin Shi saw Xiao Chen execute Dermic World, his expression changed. He immediately felt his aura crumbling at a startling pace. The thousands of mysterious phenomena materialized by his Wind Dao domain all shattered. After executing Dermic World, Xiao Chen's pressure suddenly increased explosively. Originally, there was only an unremarkable opening. After Xiao Chen caught hold of it, it immediately expanded to a point where there was no way to recover. Lin Shi did not have time to think. He could only passively execute his killing move, clashing with the void-breaking stance that Xiao Chen executed with his body. Kasi. Lin Shi vomited a mouthful of blood. After exchanging 1,000 moves, Xiao Chen finally knocked him into the air. Whoosh! In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen's physical body returned to its original form. However, the tyrant saber in his hand stabbed into Lin Shi's chest at the same time. Huang Dang! The sword in Lin Shi's hand fell to the ground. He paled, feeling his life force quickly vanishing. Many thanks. Xiao Chen pulled out the tyrant saber, and blood spurted out of his chest. Xiao Chen's saber intent destroyed Lin Shi's internal organs at a terrifying speed. However, Xiao Chen already held back, not immediately finishing off the other party. The realm spirit would send him out before Lin Shi died. Originally, it looked like a draw. However, the victor was decided in the blink of an eye. This was mental state. In a battle of life and death, Xiao Chen was still letting his thoughts run wild. He thought that it was nothing, only thinking about how to deal with Gong Liangyu. Even Xiao Chen himself did not realize that he had already exposed an opening. This was how it was when one's mental state was insufficient. While one thought that it was nothing, in reality, it gave the other party an opportunity. Victory ended in one breath, so fast that Lin Shi did not have any room to salvage the situation. Normally speaking, even if Xiao Chen executed Dermic World, as long as he did not expose an opening, Dermic World would not be able to destroy Xiao Chen's aura. Instead, because Xiao Chen executed his killing move rashly and did not achieve the desired effect, he would expose an opening, allowing Xiao Chen to take advantage of it. However, there were no ifs in this world. In this battle of life and death, Lin Shi was thinking about how to deal with Gong Liangyu after defeating Xiao Chen. He had given Xiao Chen a chance for nothing. Otherwise, even if Xiao Chen could win, it would have been an extremely difficult victory. Many thanks. Should I thank you as well? Lin Shi's body slowly immaterialized. He revealed a bitter, self-mocking smile. He had truly learned something in this battle. Even though he no longer had the right to join the Heavenly Alliance, he would definitely not make the same mistake again in the future. If he kept an eye out, he might be able to save his life in the future. After all, this was just the Heavenly Alliance's test. Xiao Chen was not Lin Shi's enemy and did not kill him. After saying that, the realm spirit sent Lin Shi out. He did not dare to show any dissatisfaction, as he had already lost the right to join the Heavenly Alliance. Xiao Chen turned around and saw that Gong Liangyu had not finished off his opponent yet, still in a bitter battle. Gong Liangyu's opponent was not weak at all. Gong Liangyu's opponent was not much easier than Lin Shi's fight with Xiao Chen. If Lin Shi saw this scene, he would probably feel so much regret that his intestines would turn green. In reality, Xiao Chen could imagine it. At this point, only 4 people remained. How could there be any weaklings? Everyone was about the same level. The only difference was their mental states. However, when Xiao Chen fought Lin Shi, he did not have such thoughts at all. All Gong Liangyu thought about was how to defeat Lin Shi, how to not reveal any openings, and how to grasp the openings his opponent gave him. He finally grasped the opportunity. Whoosh! Gong Liangyu and his opponent, who were in a bitter battle, turned their heads at the same time, and their gazes landed on Xiao Chen. Surprise flashed in the two's eyes. Clearly, they had not expected Xiao Chen to win. Furthermore, Xiao Chen won so easily, not paying much of a price at all. It looks like they are preparing to attack me at the same time. In just an instant, Xiao Chen thought of what would happen next. These two were currently fighting. They definitely did not want Xiao Chen to watch. Anyone would feel on edge. Xiao Chen thought to himself, this is a little different from what I imagined. However, this might be an opportunity. When the two worked together, it looked like Xiao Chen had no chance of victory, with only a slim chance of survival. However, heaven never bars one's way. What looked like a dead end happened to be an absolute opportunity. Gong Liangyu and his opponent stopped at the same time. The two did not communicate at all, but tacitly locked their auras on Xiao Chen. "What are you trying to do?" Xiao Chen's expression immediately changed drastically. An indiscernible fluster flashed in his eyes as he slowly retreated. Seeing the fluster in Xiao Chen's eyes, Gong Liangyu revealed a cold smile. He said seriously, "You are really surprising. Unexpectedly, you comprehended a Dao domain in just a few days. However, many times, aside from strength, luck is very important as well. It looks like luck is on my side this time. Go in peace." Whoosh! A moment ago, Gong Liangyu and his opponent were fighting to the death. Suddenly, they worked together to attack Xiao Chen. Such a scene stupefied the sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens, who had revealed expressions of joy. The sudden change in the situation left them at a complete loss. Chapter 2110. Kill. Gong Liangyu and his opponent attacked at the same time, charging at Xiao Chen. Immediately, an overwhelming might surged over, looking like it would force Xiao Chen out. Neither one of them was about the same strength as Xiao Chen. If the two worked together, Xiao Chen had no chance of victory. Furthermore, the continent had already shrunk significantly. As long as they could force Xiao Chen out, he would be eliminated. The results seemed to be predictable. However, was luck really on Gong Liangyu's side? The moment Xiao Chen grasped Lin Shi's opening and defeated him, he had expected that Gong Liangyu and his opponent would attack him at the same time. Since they had expected it, why did there still appear an indiscernible fluster in their eyes? Naturally, Xiao Chen had purposely shown an opening. When Gong Liangyu and his opponent arrived before Xiao Chen, they saw that Xiao Chen had already retreated to the edge of the continent. Gong Liangyu and his opponent could not help showing joy in their eyes. If they took another step, Xiao Chen would be forced out and eliminated. Suddenly, the two's expressions changed at the same time, and they looked up. They saw 20-odd tribulation clouds drifting over from all directions in the sky, instantly descending as the two charged at Xiao Chen. Boom! The 20-odd tribulation lightning bolts merged into one and descended. It was like the two had expected the two to charge over. To outsiders, it was not the tribulation lightning that struck the two. Instead, when the two charged at Xiao Chen, they took the initiative to crash into the descending tribulation lightning. With the two working together, Xiao Chen would die for sure. There would be no chance of victory. However, if the two had expected this and laid out a trap, the desperate situation would have become an opportunity for Xiao Chen. The fifth layer of the divine lightning eye was the trap that Xiao Chen laid out. The fluster in his eyes was also a disguise to attract the two's attention. The instant the two were struck by the tribulation lightning, Xiao Chen gently waved his hand, and the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram filled the sky, descending along with the tribulation lightning. Taiji yin-yang burst. Having just endured the tribulation lightning, Gong Liangyu and his opponent did not even have the time to catch their breath before Xiao Chen's yin-yang flame diagram self-detonated. Amidst the endless dust, the two of them coughed incessantly, suffering heavy injuries on the spot. Primordial Divine Eye bloodline activated. Since the opportunity was right before his eyes, Xiao Chen naturally wouldn't miss it. He activated his bloodline and entered his peak state. One side was heavily injured, while the other side was at the peak. At this moment, it went without saying that sleep had the upper hand. Myriad changes in the blink of an eye. This was the true meaning of myriad changes in the blink of an eye. It caused everyone to be flabbergasted, and they were completely unable to react to it. Xiao Chen's eyes flickered with a golden light as he formed the 7-kill seal with his left hand. Under the 7-fold killing chi, he executed the mortal heart. Xiao. With a flash of light, Xiao Chen flew into the dust and waited for it to disperse. Gong Liangyu's opponent's head had already been separated from his body, and his body was slowly being teleported away by the world spirit. While the two were heavily injured, Xiao Chen decisively chose the more heavily injured one. Using the 7-kill seal and resolving the mundane, he killed him. Gong Liangyu was the only opponent left. Silence. The many sovereign emperors in desolate cities' starry heavens held their breaths, not saying anything. The exciting scene on the light screen for Secret Realm 8 made them fear missing out on a single detail. No one expected that aside from his stubbornness, Xiaochen also had such a strategy. At the crucial moment, he used an exquisite disguise to grasp his opponent's state of mind, turning a desperate situation into an opportunity for him to turn the situation around. Talent. This was a true talent. He was brave and astute, possessed an outstanding mental state, and possessed outstanding talent. As Gong Liangyu looked at Xiaochen, his complexion paled. First, he was caught off guard by the wave of tribulation lightning. Then, he suffered the self-detonation of the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram. Although Gong Liangyu's situation was better than his opponent's, he knew that he was no match for Xiaochen in his current state. Gong Liangyu revealed a self-mocking smile as he said, "How laughable! This is truly laughable. I thought that you were able to last until the end of the first stage because of luck. However, when luck was on my side, I was still the one who lost." Gong Liangyu's intelligence was extremely terrifying. Xiaochen could tell from the first stage that even if this person obtained an absolute advantage, he would not show any pride. He didn't have the slightest bit of arrogance. He was cold and indifferent to the extreme, and he was always cautious. However, this time, Xiaochen's strength improved too quickly. After Gong Liangyu easily killed Lin Shi, an opening appeared in Gong Liangyu's mental state. When Gong Liangyu noticed the fluster in Xiaochen's eyes, he wanted to make use of this opportunity to easily avoid Xiaochen. In reality, the moment Xiaochen defeated Lin Shi, Gong Liangyu lost some confidence. Even Lin Shi lost to Xiaochen. Could Gong Liangyu still defeat Xiaochen? In the end, Gong Liangyu's mental state was still insufficient, unable to maintain a calm state of mind. That was why Gong Liangyu fell into Xiaochen's trap, giving Xiaochen a chance. In reality, unless there were extremely few people, the battle royale of the second stage had reached the last few people. Everyone's strength was about the same. It was impossible for it to be like the first stage. Xiaochen could easily suppress countless sovereign personages in 2 or 3 moves. Those who could reach this stage were not weaklings. They all had a chance of winning. It all depended on whether one could grasp the opportunity or not. Of course, the prerequisite for all this was one's own strength as a foundation. If Xiaochen had not advanced to great perfection sovereign personage and comprehended the Thunder Dao domain, increasing the might of his secret techniques and martial techniques related to the Thunder Dao, no matter how high his mental state was, it would not be sufficient before Gong Liangyu's absolute strength. Xiaochen calmly looked at the other party. A hazy painting of 10,000 dragons soaring appeared behind him. An ancient blue dragon's divine might spread out from Xiaochen's body. Together with his aura, Xiaochen's white robes fluttered loudly. As his long hair fluttered, a tyrannical air spread out. After activating his bloodline, Xiaochen gave off a completely different air. His normally hidden sharpness and tyranny were completely revealed. Based on the other party's expression, Xiaochen roughly knew what the other party wanted to say. "I admit defeat." After Gong Liangyu said that calmly, his figure quickly faded. Now, only Xiaochen remained in Arena 8. Did I win? In the starry heavens above Desolate City, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt like he was dreaming, not daring to believe the result before him. Old Shui exclaimed joyfully, "City Lord, he really won." Xiaochen already obtained a spot to enter the Heavenly Alliance. Ha! The purple-haired old man guffawed, his laughter filled with boldness and joy. "Congratulations, Lord Shangguan." The other sovereign emperors showed joy on their faces as they congratulated Shangguan Yun. Only Sovereign Emperor Xinggu showed an unsightly expression, feeling bitter. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu seemed to have said that if Xiaochen really entered the Heavenly Alliance, he would give Xiaochen 70 million primeval heavenly pills as a reward. With this thought, Sovereign Emperor Xinggu could not help feeling heartache. To sovereign emperors, primeval heavenly pills were not important. However, if there were so many, they would feel heartache. Milord, Nangong Feng also won. Just at this moment, Sovereign Emperor Xingji's follower reported joyfully as he pointed at the light screen for Arena 9. Only Nangong Feng remained in the light screen for Arena 9. The remaining 2 people from Desolate City had already passed the second stage. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu immediately rejoiced, dispelling some of his depression. However, he still felt a knot in his heart. If only Nangong Feng had entered the Heavenly Alliance, he would have been the center of attention. However, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor snatched away all the limelight. This was very depressing. The disciples entering the Heavenly Alliance were not as happy as one imagined. Whoosh! A light flickered, and Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng appeared at the same time. The 2 exchanged looks and nodded slightly. Then, they arrived before the purple-haired old man and performed cupped fist salutes. "Greetings, City Lord." The smile on Shangguan Yun's face did not fade. He said seriously, "Good, very good. The 2 of you fought for me. This is my reward for you." 2 storage rings flew over, each containing 20 million primeval heavenly pills. Shangguan Yun casually rewarded 40 million primeval heavenly pills. Faux gods were truly faux gods, not even blinking. Congratulations. This old man's words carry enormous weight. Since you passed the test and entered the Heavenly Alliance, this is my reward for you. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu walked forward with a dark expression. The group of sovereign emperors suppressed their smiles as they looked at the unsightly Sovereign Emperor Xinggu. Then, they handed the 70 million primeval heavenly pills to Xiao Chen. "Master, you are really biased. Even my disciple did not receive so many rewards," Nangong Feng said with a bitter smile, appearing somewhat helpless. Nangong Feng said helplessly with a bitter smile. Immediately, many sovereign emperors could not help guffawing. This was the result of boasting. Sovereign Emperor Xinggu felt embarrassed. He said, "We'll talk after we go back. Master will definitely not mistreat you." Shangguan Yun smiled faintly and said, "All right, that's all then. Xinggu, withdraw first. I have something to say to the 2 of them." "All right." The purple-haired old man looked at Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng and said, 3 days from now, someone will receive you and bring you to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. At that time, you will officially become members of the Heavenly Alliance. Although our Heavenly Alliance's accumulations cannot compare to those of the other super factions, we have plenty of resources. Once you become a formal member of the Heavenly Alliance, the authority and resources you will obtain will surpass your imagination. However, authority and obligation are equal. The more authority you have, the more obligation you have. I hope you understand." After the purple-haired old man finished speaking, Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng said at the same time, "We will definitely remember Lord Shangguan's teachings. All right, you may withdraw first." Chapter 2111. The battles in the losers' arena continued. Lei Hao was already eliminated, but Yun Fei was still fighting in the endless arenas. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor was still around. After Xiao Chen took his leave from Shangguan Yunfei, he did not rush to leave. Instead, he waited with Lei Hao for Yun Fei's results. "Congratulations, little brother Xiao Chen." Lei Hao looked at Xiao Chen with some envy. Xiao Chen had joined the Heavenly Alliance and become a member of one of the 8 super factions. Xiao Chen's future cultivation path would be much easier. He would leave the other cultivators who did not join a super faction in the dust. Thinking of this, Lei Hao felt somewhat sad. Who did not want to go further on the path of cultivation? "Thank you, big brother Lei Hao." Xiao Chen could see the disappointment in Lei Hao's eyes, so he consoled him softly. More than 1 million sovereign personages participated in the test. In the end, only 100 people from the winner's arena and 10 from the loser's arena could enter the Heavenly Alliance. 99% of the people were already eliminated. It could not be said that Lei Hao was weak. It could only be said that the test was too cruel. Lei Hao looked at Xiao Chen and smiled. "Little brother, don't worry about me. After this failure, I only hope to break through to Sovereign Emperor in the future. Perhaps without a high goal, it will not be so tiring." The 2 chatted softly, casually chatting about some things, explaining their experiences in the loser's arena and the winner's arena. 4 heaven-defying experts appeared in this Heavenly Alliance's test. Little brother Xiaoqun, you have to pay attention to them in the later ranking battles, Lei Hao said to Xiaoqun. Lei Hao asked Xiaoqun. Compared to Xiaoqun, Lei Hao had a better understanding of the entire Heavenly Alliance's test. Heaven-defying experts? What was a heaven-defying sovereign personage? They were heaven-defying sovereign personages who could suppress the other geniuses in the first stage in the second stage of the winner's arena. Xiao Chen and Gong Liangyu could not be considered heaven-defying. When it came to the last 30 people, everyone's strength differed greatly. The only thing that mattered was one's state of mind. Whoever's state of mind was better would have a greater chance of advancing. As for heaven-defying sovereign personages, they were clearly much stronger than the others. Mental states could no longer affect the situation. The difference in strength was too great. Even if the other party were to casually exchange blows with you, you would still be no match for him. Such a participant could be considered unrivaled among sovereign personages, a heaven-defying existence. Xiao Chen thought to himself, it is not surprising that such a heaven-defying sovereign personage appeared. After all, the examiner's requirement was to be a sovereign personage under 500 years old. They gave Xiao Chen 300 years. He was confident that he could crush Gong Liangyu and Lin Shi without any pressure. However, Xiao Chen was a little surprised that 4 of them had appeared at the same time. Which 5? Lei Hao said sullenly. Saber Demon Wu Meng, a participant from the Tianwu dynasty's test zone, is simply a strange talent. I was eliminated by him. It was just 1 slash. I didn't even see it clearly before I was eliminated. Thinking back to that guy's eyes, I still feel a little scared. With just 1 look, I knew I was going to lose. Saber Demon Wu Meng? He's a demonic Dao warrior? Lei Hao quickly denied it. How can that be possible? The demonic Dao Hall and the underworld God Hall are our mortal enemies. It is impossible for the Heavenly Alliance to recruit demonic Dao cultivators. I call him the Saber Demon because of his style. His saber technique is as terrifying as a demon's. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. It looked like he had to be even more careful in the future. He could not expose the fact that he cultivated the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. The other 4 are Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerate Gongzi Lan, and Spear Sovereign Mou. Of them, the scariest is Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Many people say that he might be the strongest participant in this Heavenly Alliance test. At that time, he will receive many benefits. Xiao Chen thought to himself, memorizing all these names. Then, he asked Lei Hao for the portraits of these people. After arriving at the Heavenly Alliance, there was still a ranking battle for those who entered the Heavenly Alliance. The ranking determined the final reward, as well as whether one could attract true experts from the Heavenly Alliance. After Lei Hao gave Xiao Chen all this, he smiled and said, aside from these 5, little brother Xiao Chen, your fame in this Heavenly Alliance test is no less than theirs. In fact, you might even surpass them. What do you mean? Previously, someone said that if you can enter the Heavenly Alliance, you will be the youngest member in the history of the Heavenly Alliance. It is not just for this test but for all the previous ones. From the Heavenly Alliance's establishment until now, you have always been the youngest member. That seemed to be the case. Normally, there were many outstanding talents like Xiao Chen in the other super factions. For example, the Bushin Palace, which controlled the 8 great empires, and the Universe Origin sect, which controlled the Tianwu dynasty. These super factions were much more attractive to outstanding talents than the Heavenly Alliance. In reality, barring any surprises, Xiao Chen would enter the Bushin Palace through Ancestor Dragon City. Xiao Chen. As the two chatted, Nangong Feng walked over and greeted Xiao Chen. Then he smiled and said, we will be entering the Heavenly Alliance together 3 days from now. I hope that everyone will take care of each other. The Desolate City test zone is rather weak. If we are not united, we might get bullied. Right. Xiao Chen did not have much of an impression of Nangong Feng, so he nodded slightly in agreement. This was good. In any case, Xiao Chen would not offend the other party. If the other party was willing to be on good terms with him, Xiao Chen would remain calm. What are you doing? Why are you still here? Nangong Feng asked softly with a faint smile when he saw Xiao Chen nod. Lei Hao answered, "We are waiting for my senior brother Yun Fei. He is in the loser's arena. If he is not eliminated by now and does not die, he has a high chance of obtaining one of the 10 spots in the loser's arena." There was no light screen for the loser's arena, so one could only guess. Nangong Feng said softly after some estimation. Nangong Feng's words cast a shadow over Xiao Chen and Lei Hao's hearts. Indeed, it was easy to imagine that the battles of the loser's arena had reached the end as well. If one had not been eliminated yet, there were only two outcomes. One was that one was still fighting, and the other was that one was already dead, unable to teleport over. I hope that Yun Fei is still fighting. Xiao Chen prayed in his heart. The test was very cruel. However, no matter the result, he still hoped that the people he knew could survive. The loser's arena test is over. Just at this moment, Lord Shangguan, who received the message from the throne in the starry heavens, announced loudly. Right after the old man spoke, a light flashed, and a fatigued and injured Yun Fei appeared before everyone. After a moment of shock, thunderous applause resounded. Everyone seemed to have gone crazy. Success! In the desolate city test zone, someone survived the loser's arena's battles to the end, snatching the last 10 spots out of the 1 million people. Shock flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He could not help clapping along with the others. Nangong Feng exclaimed in shock, "It was really not easy. To be able to fight to the end in the loser's arena is no exaggeration to call it a miracle." Lei Hao felt somewhat excited. He exclaimed, "He really succeeded." Two of Master's disciples entered the Heavenly Alliance in one go. Before everyone's eyes, Yun Fei stepped forward and arrived before the purple-haired old man to receive Lord Shangguan's reward. Including Xiao Chen and Nangong Feng, a total of 3 people from the desolate city test zone entered the Heavenly Alliance. Congratulations! One more of the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor's disciples entered the Heavenly Alliance. I'll take my leave first. Nangong Feng smiled as he congratulated Xiao Chen. Then he took his leave. His master was probably going to feel depressed again. After waiting for so long, there was finally a good result. Yun Fei managed to fight his way out of the loser's arena. After everything ended, Old Chui gathered Xiao Chen and the others. He smiled and said, "Come back with me first." The city lord still has something to discuss with the other sovereign emperors. This time, you have gained face for the city lord. In the future, people will not talk behind his back. 2 days later, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor summoned Xiao Chen and Yun Fei to their residence in Desolate City. Before Xiao Chen died, he had returned 5,000 primeval heavenly pills to the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor did not stand on ceremony, directly putting away the primeval heavenly pills. Right now, Xiao Chen did not lack primeval heavenly pills. "You'll be leaving in a day. I really can't bear to part with you. I really can't bear to part with you," the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said somewhat ruefully as he looked at Xiao Chen and Yun Fei. Then his gaze fell on Xiao Chen. After some thought, he said, "This is especially so for you, Xiao Chen. I have not even truly interacted with you for a month." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor wanted to say something but found that he did not have much to say. After all, he was not a person who was good with words or emotions. "I won't say much. Is there anything you want to know about the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters? You can ask. This is also the time to tell you. It is not considered a leak." Chapter 21:12. What was there to ask about the Heaven Alliance? Be it Xiao Chen or Yun Fei, they would definitely be curious about the Heavenly Alliance. However, even though he wanted to ask, he didn't know where to start. "Master, just what kind of organization is the Heavenly Alliance?" Yun Fei asked. What kind of organization was the Heavenly Alliance? It was said to be an organization formed by the merchant associations of the world. How did it operate? How did it coordinate the interests of the various merchant associations? What did joining the Heavenly Alliance mean? Were those merchant associations not members of the Heavenly Alliance? It seemed like a simple question, but it was actually filled with many mysteries. At the mention of this topic, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor showed a somewhat complicated expression. He said softly, "The Heavenly Alliance's accumulations are rather weak. It was established after the previous Great War between the righteous factions and the demonic factions. Not only were they plundered and massacred by the various demonic sects, but they were also extorted by the forces of the righteous path. Without top martial power, no matter how much wealth you have, it's all in vain." After that, the top 10 merchant associations of the martial epoch worked together to form the Heavenly Alliance. Their goal was to gather the strength of everyone and create their own top-notch combat strength that belonged to the various large merchant associations. They would nurture them without any regard for resources. Facts had proven that as long as there were enough resources, peerless experts could always be nurtured. Furthermore, when the Heavenly Alliance was established, it used all sorts of treasures to attract some neutral foe gods, finally allowing the Heavenly Alliance to become a new super faction. Now, it has the capital to contend with the other super factions and will no longer be extorted or suppressed. Yunfei asked doubtfully, "The righteous Dao factions will also extort merchant associations?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said indifferently, "Of course, they will be suppressed if there are benefits. Furthermore, those sects and empires cannot compete with professional merchant associations in terms of business. Furthermore, there were some merchant associations that pursued profits too much, causing the sect to loathe them. Since I can't compete with you, I'll just have to use force to take it. Otherwise, if you take all the benefits, how will the sect survive? There's no right or wrong in this. It's just a battle of interests. In fact, even now, the Heaven Alliance is forced to give up a lot of its interests when it encounters some troublesome factions." At this point, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor paused for a moment before continuing, "Let me return to the earlier topic. After the Heavenly Alliance became a super faction, some interesting things happened." What interesting phenomenon? Those merchant associations discovered that they could no longer control the Heavenly Alliance. However, that was the truth. Now, the Heaven Alliance was no longer an alliance of merchant associations. Now, the various merchant associations are the subordinates of the Heavenly Alliance. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor said seriously, "Hence, Yunfei, you asked what kind of organization the Heavenly Alliance is. More accurately speaking, the Heavenly Alliance is the super faction that controls the merchant associations in the world. The difference in power has changed long ago." Xiao Chen was slightly startled, but he did not change too much. Strength reigned supreme, and the weak were prey to the strong. The martial epoch always followed this rule. Since they had the strength to destroy others at will, why should they listen to the orders of these merchant associations? "Master, I understand." Yun Fei nodded, indicating that he already understood what kind of organization the Heavenly Alliance was. At the end of the day, the Heavenly Alliance was a colossus that ruled over countless chambers of commerce and had subsidiary forces all over the Great Thousand Worlds. However, only a small number of people were in control of these behemoths. These were the official members of the Heaven Alliance. One could say that Xiao Chen and Yun Fei joining the Heavenly Alliance meant that they were the masters of these subordinate factions. No matter how much authority those famous merchant associations had or how many resources they controlled, their statuses were lower than Xiao Chen and Yun Fei's. After that, Yun Fei asked many more questions about the Heavenly Alliance, and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor answered them all. "Xiao Chen, do you not have any questions?" The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor asked when he saw that Xiao Chen had been listening. Xiao Chen entered deep thought before replying, "Actually, I do not have much to ask. I only care about how many benefits I can obtain by entering the Heavenly Alliance and what the price is." The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor smiled when he heard that. Xiao Chen was so direct that he did not know how to answer. "Compared to the other super factions, we might have to pay more. Due to the Heavenly Alliance's accumulations, it is more utilitarian. It will maximize the value of every member, unlike the other super factions." At the mention of this, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt helpless. Although the Heavenly Alliance turned from guest to host, taking over the merchant associations in the world. The merchant associations were the Heavenly Alliance's foundation. However, the merchant association was the Heavenly Alliance's foundation, after all. Inevitably, it was more utilitarian than the other superfactions. This is to my liking. This is good. Xiao Chen thought for a while. He did not mind the Heavenly Alliance's utilitarianism. They were just using each other. There was no need to be so calculative. After the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor explained a little more, he said, "As for the rest, I cannot explain it to you in detail right now. Remember, do not change your original intentions. Go ahead. The Heavenly Alliance's people should arrive tomorrow." After the two took their leave, Yun Fei appeared somewhat excited compared to Xiao Chen's calmness. He had lived in the peaceful Peach Blossom City for 100 years. Now, he could finally enter the Heavenly Alliance. He felt like a great wind was blowing and a great rock was about to take flight. He wished that he could immediately display his abilities and fulfill his martial Dao ambitions. "Xiao Chen, what are your thoughts on entering the Heavenly Alliance?" Yun Fei asked. "Me? I don't seem to have any thoughts. I just hope to gain the strength to match a sovereign emperor." Right now, Xiao Chen's vision was no longer limited to the sovereign personage realm. His temporary goal was to gain the strength to fight a sovereign emperor as soon as possible. Yun Fei smiled and said, "After we enter the Heavenly Alliance, it is just a matter of time before we become sovereign emperors. We should aim higher." Early the next morning, the blazing sun rose from the east of the overflowing sea. The surface of the sea shimmered with light. Everyone in Desolate City watched this scene. This scene was pleasing to the eye and shocking to the eye. Every sunrise left a deep impression. Xiao Chen, Yun Fei, and Lei Hao got up on time to exercise in the courtyard. After a while, the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor appeared at the same time with a gray-robed old man. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor pointed to Xiao Chen and Yun Fei. The gray-robed old man nodded slightly and sized up the two. Xiao Chen knew that this old man should be bringing them to the Heavenly Alliance. "Come with me then." The gray-robed old man walked over and looked at Xiao Chen and Yun Fei. He did not say anything more. This straightforwardness made Xiao Chen and Yun Fei somewhat uncomfortable. The two were stunned for a while before saying their goodbyes to Lei Hao and the Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor. As Lei Hao watched Xiao Chen and Yun Fei being led away, he felt very complicated. He knew that after they left, Xiao Chen and Yun Fei would be led away. He knew that after leaving he would no longer have any interactions with Xiao Chen and Lei Hao. Xiao Chen felt disappointed. Only after the Heavenly Alliance's test ended did he truly taste disappointment. "Master, do I still have a chance to enter the Heavenly Alliance?" Lei Hao asked, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. The Peach Blossom Sovereign Emperor felt some heartache. He patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and sighed. "You might not become a powerful expert just by entering the Heavenly Alliance. You will have plenty of opportunities." However, Lei Hao smiled bitterly in his heart. This answer told him that he had no chance of entering the Heavenly Alliance. If Xiao Chen were as young as Xiao Chen, he would definitely have a chance. However, he was already close to 100 years old. He could not wait for the next Heavenly Alliance's test. After leaving the residence, the gray-robed old man called Nangong Feng over. Then he brought the three to Desolate City's city lord, Shangguan Yun. The two each took out a damaged jade pendant. The jade pendants matched perfectly. Then, Shangguan Yun activated an extremely hidden Dao platform in the city lord's residence. Work hard. Entering the Heavenly Alliance does not mean that it is over. This is just the beginning. You still have a long way to go. Don't disappoint me. When the three stepped onto the Dao platform, the purple-haired old man warned solemnly as he looked at Xiao Chen, Yun Fei, and Nangong Feng. "We will follow Lord Shangguan's instructions." After Shangguan Yun withdrew, Yun Fei looked at the hidden Dao platform under his feet. He asked curiously, "Where are we going? Are we going directly to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters?" "No, we are going to meet up with the people from the other test zones first. With your authority, you cannot use the Dao platform to teleport to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters." The gray-robed old man explained casually as he busied himself with activating the Dao platform. Meeting up? I can finally see the experts from the other test zones. Xiao Qin felt anticipation in his heart. Chapter 21:13. When the Dao platform activated, the figures of Xiao Qin, Yun Fei, and Nangong Feng turned hazy. As space changed, all they could see was a blurry seven-colored energy flow. That was space-time turbulence, and one couldn't touch it carelessly. Otherwise, one would get lost within. When his vision returned to normal, Xiao Qin found himself on an even larger platform. There were many other sovereign personages like Xiao Qin on the Dao platform. All of them had deep cultivations and a strong aura. A fearsome sharpness hid on their faces. All of them were peak sovereign personages. Some of them had cold expressions, while others had arrogant expressions. Most of them were like Xiao Qin, sizing up the other kings. Thinking about it, these people should be the 110 people who would be joining the Heaven Alliance this time. Who were the 4 heaven-defying human kings? Saber Demon Wu Meng, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerable Gongzi Lan, and Spear King Mou. Xiao Qin thought curiously in his heart. His gaze fell on a burly man with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a face full of stubble. The bearded man carried an ancient dragon-tooth saber on his back. The saber's body was intertwined with canine teeth, and its shape was odd. It looked quite ferocious. It was as if he could turn into a ferocious beast at any time and wreak havoc everywhere. Saber Demon Wu Meng recalled the appearance that Lei Hao described to him. It seemed to be him. Saber Demon Wu Meng sensed Xiao Qin's gaze and grinned. However, when this face smiled, it really didn't look good. It looked even more frightening. Xiao Qin nodded slightly in response to her smile. So cold. All of a sudden, a shiver ran down his spine as a terrifying chill swept out in all directions. A cold-looking young man with a spear on his back appeared on the platform and scanned the platform. The coldness came from his gaze. It was the Spear Sovereign Mou. This person should have cultivated his Ice Dao domain to a certain level. Xiao Qin thought to himself, my Thunder Dao domain should not be able to defeat the other party. What? Before the shock from the Spear Sovereign Mou faded, a deathly intent spread across the platform. It caused one's entire body to feel uncomfortable and their hair to stand on end. They had no choice but to circulate their quintessence to disperse this deathly aura. Grim Reaper Lin Feng. Nangong Feng said in a deep voice. He frowned as he looked at the black-clothed youth on the Dao platform. You know him? Yun Fei asked in surprise. Nangong Feng nodded. In the first stage, I was placed in the same mystic realm as him. I was nearly eliminated by him. He is an invincible existence. To the people of our mystic realm, it's a nightmare. No one is willing to run into him. His Death Dao domain is too despairing. Death Dao domain. Derived from the Dao of Death, it was hundreds or even thousands of times more difficult to cultivate than the great Daos of wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. To be able to comprehend the Death Great Dao into a Dao domain, this person must have paid an extremely terrifying price. Cultivating this kind of dark martial arts could cause one to go berserk if they were not careful. It was best not to provoke this person. It could be seen that the examinees who came with Lin Feng all kept a distance from him, not daring to get close. When all the candidates had arrived, a huge silver warship appeared on the platform, its entire body shining with a cold luster. With a single glance, one could tell that it was a divine material. It was a special metal that had been forged through tens of thousands of processes. Everyone is here? The cabin door opened, and a middle-aged man dressed in green walked out. He was as handsome as a man from a painting. He glanced at the crowd and said softly. The azure-clad man had the same plum blossom symbol as Lord Shangguan embroidered on his chest, with 6 petals. The center of the flower looked like snow, and the petals were inlaid with golden threads. This exuded nobility and pride, looking extraordinary. Lord Mu, all the new members of the Heavenly Alliance are here, an old man responsible for welcoming the newcomers said respectfully after stepping forward. The azure-clad man nodded slightly and praised, not bad. The potential and strength of this batch of members far surpass that of the previous batches. I'm afraid that there will not be so many peak sovereign personages joining the Heavenly Alliance for many years to come. In the entire martial epoch, there were more than 1 million sovereign personages in the Great Thousand Realms. Only 110 people were allowed to enter the Heavenly Alliance. With such strict standards, it would be strange if the remaining people were not strong. But before you go to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters, you will have to undergo a final test here to determine your ranking. Actually, this ranking is not very useful. It is only related to some rewards. Hence, I hope that you will not treat this as a fight to the death. Just stop when you are exchanging pointers. Otherwise, it will be my Heavenly Alliance's loss if you suffer any internal injuries or hidden injuries. Lord Mu looked at Xiao Chen and the other participants. After a pause, he continued, "So, end this quickly and stop when you are done. There is no need to worry. I cannot make out your strength. Even if a victor is not decided, I will know who is stronger." When Xiao Chen and the others heard that, they felt stunned. Unexpectedly, the third stage would be so casual. However, when they thought about it, this made sense. The first and second stages were very cruel. Everyone felt very tense. If they were not careful, someone might really die. At that time, it would be the Heavenly Alliance's loss. Now, we will start fighting in pairs to determine the top 50. The top 10 with the total points of the first stage will advance to the final stage. This was a special treatment for the seeded participants. The remaining 100 people would fight in pairs. As this was just exchanging pointers, everyone held back. The battles progressed very quickly. When one felt that they could not defeat their opponent, they decisively admitted defeat. There were cultivators who clearly could not defeat their opponents but wanted to drag things out. Lord Mu reprimanded them and declared them to be losers. Xiao Chen was pretty lucky. He won 2 rounds in a row and entered the top 20. This attracted many people's attention. Clearly, many people had heard that he was the youngest member in the history of the Heavenly Alliance. The 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages were Saber Demon Wu Meng, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Sword Venerate Gongzi Lan, and Spear Sovereign Mou. Aside from them, the most well-known was the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chen. I really couldn't tell that he could make it into the top 20 at such a young age. He is rather capable. Incredible. However, this is not a true fight, after all. We cannot take it too seriously. As the discussions continued, the final round was about to begin. Xiao Chen and the other 9 participants would face the top 10 experts who advanced to the final round. The final round begins. Your final privilege is to choose your opponent. Whoever wins will enter the top 10 and proceed to the final competition. Lord Mu said softly as he looked at the top 10 participants of the first stage. Immediately, Xiao Chen and the other 9 felt somewhat nervous. They all hoped that the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages would not choose them. The 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages were already publicly acknowledged as unrivaled among sovereign personages. The others could not be a match for them. Whoever was chosen by the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages would lose for sure. They would not have any chance of entering the top 10. My opponent is him. Xiao Chen looked around. Unfortunately, the one who chose him was Sword Venerate Gongzi Lan, one of the 4 heaven-defying experts. While Xiao Chen felt somewhat disappointed, he quickly adjusted his state of mind. Xiao Chen showed a calm expression as he stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute. Peach Blossom City's Xiao Chen, please give me some pointers. You can still remain so calm when facing me. This is truly shocking. Sword Venerate Gongzi Lan's handsome face exuded a righteous aura, giving off a feeling of righteousness and untainted by evil. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not deny it. He gestured with his hand and said, "Make your move, then." "As you wish." Clang! Gongzi Lan frowned slightly. Immediately, a sharp light appeared on his face. Like a treasure sword being unsheathed, it turned into a sharp sword move and launched itself at Xiao Chen. Ferocious, sharp, upright, and upright. This was a terrifying arrow that seemed to crush everything. This was Gongzi Lan's sword Dao, the king's sword Dao. Ding, 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 ding. In that instant, Xiao Chen moved as well. However, he did not move his feet. What moved was the saber intent in his heart, and the saber moves in his entire body. The flawless saber Dao used the body as a saber, his hair as a saber, and his clothes as a saber. Xiao Chen's fine black hair and clothes fluttered. He clearly did not move, but his clothes fluttered along with his fluttering hair and fluttering clothes. His saber moves were like a vast army surging. When Gongzi Lan charged over, Xiao Chen drew his tyrant saber and clashed with the other party's upright and upright sword move that contained the king's sword Dao. Dang, ding, ding. The weapons clashed. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged more than 100 moves. Their figures crisscrossed, and afterimages filled the air. The saber and sword danced chaotically, creating a magnificent and chaotic mysterious phenomenon. Clearly, many people had not expected such a scene. To think that Xiao Chen could last so long against Gongzi Lan. Whoosh! After exchanging another 100 moves, the two of them separated from the mysterious phenomenon. There were already some sword wounds on Xiao Chen's body. However, there was a faint saber wound on Gongzi Lan's face. The two were evenly matched. Unexpectedly, there was no clear victor in this exchange. Lord Mu did not call for me to stop. It looks like he thinks that my sword Dao will have some difficulty defeating you. However, I have a method that can make you admit defeat now. Gongzi Lan sheathed his sword, and his lips curled up in a confident smile. Xiao Chen said calmly, "In that case, bring it out and let me see." Gongzi Lan smiled faintly and held two fingers together. Suddenly, a strand of sword light condensed at his fingertips. Whoosh! The instant the sword light appeared, Xiao Chen felt a piercing pain in his eyes. He felt some fear in his heart, so he quickly took a few steps back. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and looked carefully. He saw a leaping golden line in that sword light. Divine energy. This Gongzi Lan actually managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy as a sovereign personage, a divine energy that only divine Vein Realm sovereign emperors could grasp. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. There was indeed no need to continue fighting. Clearly, Gongzi Lan had already cultivated this strand of divine energy to perfection. Combined with Gongzi Lan's sword Dao, even if Xiao Chen took out the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, he was not confident of blocking it. Whether Xiao Chen dared to block it or not was another question. Once he failed to block it, this sword light containing divine energy could instantly severely injure him. If it were a true fight, the best choice would be to leave quickly when the other party used divine energy. There was no need to gamble on the unknown. Gongzi Lan was indeed one of the 4 heaven-defying sovereign personages. To think that he managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy. This made Xiao Chen feel helpless. There was no need to continue. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and shook his head. Then, he sheathed his saber and performed a cupped fist salute. "I lost. Thank you for letting me win." Gongzi Lan smiled faintly and scattered the sword light. Then, he held up his sword and moved back. In the final ranking matches, Xiao Chen could only reach the top 20. His exact rank would depend on Lord Mu. Chapter 21:14. It was regrettable to lose, but that was all. Xiao Chen took his leave calmly. The defeated 10 did not need to continue fighting. Lord Mu, who had 7 plum blossom petals embroidered on his chest, would determine their ranking based on their performance. Yun Fei and Nangong Feng walked over. The two were not as good as Xiao Chen, unable to make it into the top 20. To think that he managed to cultivate a strand of divine energy. This Gongzi Lan is really a monster, Nangong Feng said somewhat aggrieved. After advancing to the divine vein realm, one's veritable essence energy would evolve into even stronger divine energy. In front of divine essence, true essence was just like paper paste. It was completely 2 different levels of things. There were not many opportunities. Xiao Chen thought that if he used his heart flame together with the god Shadow Bao, he might have a chance. After all, this was not a true fight. While he had a soul tool, the other party might have one. This is simply like cheating. No wonder he is a heaven-defying sovereign personage. How despairing, Yun Fei sighed softly. The four heaven-defying sovereign personages, Grim Reaper Lin Feng, Saber Demon Wu Meng, Spear Sovereign Mou, and Sword Venerate Gongzi Lan, were not people to offend. If you had not run into Gongzi Lan, Xiao Qin, you might have made it into the top 10, Nangong Feng said objectively. At the same time, he wanted to console Xiao Qin, not wanting him to feel too depressed. Xiao Qin smiled and said, "It's fine. A defeat is a defeat. It does not matter whether I can make it into the top 10 or not. In any case, we will enter the Heavenly Alliance in the end. There will be opportunities in the future." Xiao Qin. Just at this moment, a figure walked over to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin looked carefully. It was Qiong Ying. This was the first peak sovereign personage that Xiao Qin met in the Heavenly Alliance's first stage of the test, the Ink Sea Cluster's Qiong Ying. To think that Qiong Ying managed to make it out of the losers group and get to Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin stepped forward with some pleasant surprise and said, "Unexpectedly, you really made it." Qiong Ying smiled and said, "I said it before. As long as there is a losers group, I will definitely climb out. I will set you as my goal and surpass you." Xiao Qin admired Qiong Ying's character. This person came from the outer endless sea cluster, and it was not easy for him to reach where he was now. He had a tenacity and a drive that would never admit defeat. Xiao Qin smiled and said, "I'll wait for you. Let me introduce you. This is Yun Fei, my senior brother from the same sect. This is Nangong Feng, who is in the same exam area as me. He's Qiong Ying from the Ink Sea Cluster. He's the first expert I met in the first stage." After a round of introductions, the few of them slowly became familiar with each other. Unknowingly, the topic shifted to the four heaven-defying experts. Qiong Ying said in a deep voice, "These four fellows are all heaven-defying existences. However, the strongest is still Grim Reaper Lin Feng. He's simply too dazzling. Even the combined brilliance of everyone in our cohort is overshadowed by him. Wu Meng and Mou are about the same. Gongzi Lan is slightly inferior." "What do you mean?" Yun Fei asked. "This Gongzi Lan managed to cultivate divine energy as a sovereign personage." Qiong Ying explained, "This Gongzi Lan is definitely not weak. Even without divine energy, he would rank in the top 4, slightly stronger than us. However, he is only slightly stronger. He can be called a heaven-defying sovereign personage only because of his divine energy. He definitely did not cultivate this divine energy by himself. He must have had some fortuitous encounter, which allowed him to succeed in cultivating it by chance. When we reach the Sovereign Emperor realm, everyone will have divine energy. His advantage will no longer be obvious. However, the other three are different. Lin Feng relies on his Death Dao domain, Wu Meng on his Saber Dao, and Mou on his Spear. Once they reach the Sovereign Emperor realm, their advantage will strengthen further. Gongzi Lan's advantage will seem mediocre." Nangong Feng nodded and said, "That's true. However, it is hard to say if this Gongzi Lan has any other means." As the few conversed softly, the ranking battles ended in a rather peaceful atmosphere. After all, it was just an exchange of pointers. The atmosphere was still very friendly. Lord Mu started to call out names. When he called out someone, he would tell them their rank and give them a Heavenly Alliance medallion. Xiao Qin. Upon hearing his name, Xiao Qin stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute to Lord Mu. The azure-clad man looked at Xiao Qin and sized him up. Then he nodded slightly and said, "Not bad. You truly deserve to be the youngest person in the history of my Heavenly Alliance. I have long wanted to meet you. I heard that you even rejected Lord Swearenji's invitation. I am very curious. Can you tell me the answer?" Xiao Qin replied after some thought, "Freedom." Freedom. Lord Mu felt stunned. When the Heavenly Alliance was first established, it had been a very loose alliance. At that time, the Heavenly Alliance's cultivators were the freest, able to come and go as they pleased. The atmosphere of the alliance was also different from now. However, now the atmosphere was already very different from before. Time would slowly change a person. time would corrode the human heart. Under the baptism of time, the Heavenly Alliance slowly changed. Who could do anything about the passing of time? Lord Mu handed the Heavenly Alliance medallion to Xiaoqun. Then, he said softly, I ranked you 11th. If you had not run into Gongzilan, you would have been able to enter the top 10. You might even have been able to enter the top 5. The medallion contains the rewards for the 11th rank, as well as some uniforms and inherited Dao tools for the Heavenly Alliance's members. Thank you, Lord Mu. Xiaoqun put away the medallion and stepped back. Then, he fiddled with the medallion and found it to be rather heavy. There was a storage space inside the medallion. It seemed to be a secret treasure in itself. Due to the restrictions, Xiaoqun could not open the storage space. Then he saw the others recognizing the medallion as their master. Xiaoqun did the same. A drop of essence blood came out of his fingertip and fell into the medallion. Immediately, the surface of the black medallion slowly melted like snow. The front of the medallion appeared. The 7 golden shards fit together perfectly, forming an ancient divine character. The background was an ancient bronze mirror burning with flames. The back of the medallion was smooth and exquisite, showing a vast snowy scene. An indistinct 8-petal plum blossom appeared in the snowy scene. However, only one of the 8 plum blossom petals lit up. The others appeared dim. Xiaoqun thought about the 7-petal plum blossom emblem on Lord Mu's chest. This might represent his rank. After injecting a strand of his soul into the medallion, this Heavenly Alliance medallion became perfectly bound to Xiaoqun. There were still some things in the storage space inside, including the ranking rewards. However, he did not have time to check them out now. Lord Mu said loudly, "Congratulations on officially becoming members of the Heavenly Alliance. Do you see the plum blossom on the back of the Heavenly Alliance medallion? Only 1 petal is lit up. What you need to do in the future is to contribute to the Heavenly Alliance by continuing to light up the petals. With every lit petal, your rank in the Heavenly Alliance will rise by 1 rank. Right now, you are still low-level members of the Heavenly Alliance. The authority and resources you have are very limited." Indeed, it was as Xiaoqun guessed. The plum blossom petals represented one's rank. As for the 7 golden shards and the ancient bronze mirror, Xiaoqun did not know what they meant. After giving some instructions, Lord Mu got everyone to board the silver warship to bring them to the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters. After Xiaoqun boarded the warship, he was informed that there were limited rooms in the warship, requiring 4 people to a room. If there were no cultivators with better abilities, Lord Mu would randomly assign 4 people to a room. Coincidentally, Xiaoqun, Yunfei, Nangong Feng, and Qiong Ying chose a room. After entering the warship's guest room, the 4, who originally thought that the space would not be large, were startled. The interior of the guest room was exquisitely decorated, looking gorgeous and elegant. Everything was perfect and pleasing to the eye. There were ancient paintings on the walls, furniture made of divine wood, and screens clearly the work of a great master. The precious spirit fruits on the plates on the table made one sigh at the wealth of this warship's master. This Lord Mu really has deep accumulations. Just the plate of spirit fruits on the table is probably worth millions of primeval heavenly pills. Yunfei could not help praising as he casually picked up a spirit fruit and stuffed it into his mouth. The maidservant responsible for serving the 4 smiled faintly and said, "Everyone can enjoy these spirit fruits as they please. If you need more, you can summon this maidservant at any time. Milords can enjoy everything in the room at any time. There is no need to stand on ceremony. It will still be some time before we reach the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters." After the introductions, Xiaoqun nodded slightly and said, "You may withdraw first. We will call you again if there is anything." "All right. This maidservant will stand guard outside the door. If you have any instructions, I will come immediately." The maidservant smiled and bowed to take her leave. Her graceful figure appeared indistinctly as she bowed, inviting one's imagination. He really knows how to enjoy himself. My master is also a member of the Heavenly Alliance. However, he is 1 rank lower than this Lord Mu. It is just 1 rank, but the difference is like heaven and earth. No wonder Master dreams of becoming a doyen. Nangong Feng sent off the pretty maidservant with his eyes, feeling somewhat reluctant to part. Yun Fei guffawed and said, Nangong Feng, unexpectedly, you have such tastes. He seems to have said that if you have any instructions, I can come immediately. Although the four of us share a room, if you need us, we can leave for a while. If you don't mind us watching, of course, that is fine as well. Scram. Nangong Feng said softly, hiding his embarrassment as he gave Yun Fei a look of disdain. Upon seeing Nangong Feng's embarrassed state, Xiao Chen and the others could not help laughing. Everyone looked. What did I discover? Qiong Ying searched the room and opened a secret room. To think that it was a cultivation room. The group quickly put down what they were doing and went in to take a look. They immediately sighed in amazement. This cultivation room had a peak spirit-gathering formation under it. The ceiling was decorated with gemstones, forming a starry sky. When one blinked, it looked like a vast starry sky materialized into a beautiful painting. It was like one could pluck stars with a wave of one's hand. The lamp on the wall gave off a faint fragrance. Xiao Chen took a whiff of the fragrance. When one took a whiff, it stunned both the physical body and the soul. They felt comfortable and refreshed, instantly forgetting all their worries. The lamp oil should have an extraordinary origin. However, the group's knowledge was limited, so they did not know what it was made of. Nangong Feng stepped forward and carefully observed it. Then, he said, my master once said that there is a deep-sea gigantic beast, the cruel demon Xianjing, in the bitter sea of the 7 great forbidden seas. The cruel demon Xianjing has a kind of fragrance in its body that can be refined into the peak lamp oil in the world. Many large Buddhist temples use this kind of lamp oil. I suspect that the lamp oil in here is the one I mentioned. The bitter sea was one of the 7 great forbidden seas. It was a place where the 7 bitter sufferings of the world gathered: birth, aging, sickness, and death, resentment, separation from love, and unattainable desires. It was a vast and boundless sea of bitterness. It was filled with unknown dangers. If one was not careful, one would sink deep into it, unable to extricate themselves. Qiong Ying pointed to the primeval heavenly pills in the spirit-gathering formation. These primeval heavenly pills were much darker in color than the ones in everyone's hands. The spirituality of these primeval heavenly pills was nearly solid, visible to the naked eye. These are primeval heavenly pills refined from medial-grade spirit jades or superior-grade spirit jades. They are completely different from the primeval heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades in our hands. Primeval heavenly pills were heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades and superior-grade spirit jades. The primeval heavenly pills refined from inferior-grade spirit jades circulated in the central great realm, as medial-grade spirit jades and superior-grade spirit jades were much rarer in comparison. Yun Fei sighed. This Lord Mu is not simple. He is definitely not an ordinary doyen. Chapter 21:15. The extravagance of the warship's guest rooms shocked Xiao Chen's group of 4. This was truly extravagant. They felt like country bumpkins entering the city. Everything they saw shocked them for a long time. It looks like I really hope to stay in the Heavenly Alliance's headquarters longer. Staying in this guest room for a lifetime would not be a loss, Nangong Feng sighed. Indeed, this kind of cultivation environment was truly an eye-opener. This was at least 100 times better than Xiao Chen's cave in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Most importantly, he could use the resources in there as he pleased. Should we pour out some of this lamp oil? If we sell it in the future, it might fetch a sky-high price, Yun Fei said softly as he looked at the dreamy lamp oil. Xiao Chen said calmly, it is best not to. Right now, we feel that these are all precious treasures, worth cities. However, our horizons are too low. After we enter the Heavenly Alliance, we might not feel this way anymore. That's true. Right? Have you seen the storage space in the Heavenly Alliance medallion? The things in there seem pretty good. Yun Fei reminded them. With this reminder, Xiao Chen and the others remembered that they should take a look at the rewards in the Heavenly Alliance medallion. The group went to the table in the reception hall and sat down. Then, they took out the items in their medallion storage space. There were not many things, but they were more or less the same. Since they did not advance to the top 10, their rewards were about the same. Xiao Chen's ranking reward was 10 million primeval heavenly pills, 9 medicinal pills for treating injuries with varying effects, and a jade bottle containing an unknown essence liquid. Aside from these rewards, there were the basic tools that everyone who joined the Heavenly Alliance received. Of the 2 books, one introduced the Heavenly Alliance's organizational structure and how to deal with specific matters, a book to help newcomers familiarize themselves with the Heavenly Alliance. Aside from the Heavenly Alliance, there were also detailed records of the other superfactions. The other book was called the Myriad Item Register, an encyclopedia that introduced the various aspects of the martial epic in detail. This included the origins of the martial epic, historical records of the wars between righteous factions and demonic factions, many rare herbs, divine materials, ever-changing stars, and all sorts of strange things. Not bad. These 2 books can answer most of our questions. This is especially so for the Myriad Item Register, which is very helpful for broadening our horizons. Xiao Chen gave the 2 books a cursory look and became very engrossed, feeling very interested. Not only did the all-creation list introduce various resources, but it also explained various martial arts techniques, secret techniques, and cultivation methods. All of them were written by faux gods. It was not just for broadening one's horizons but was also helpful for cultivation. What's Essence Myriad Item Register? Everyone was rewarded with a bottle of liquefied elemental essence. Because of the ranking, the amount of liquefied elemental essence was somewhat different. Bai Yunfei opened the bottle cap and sniffed it. He did not feel anything and asked in confusion. Xiao Chen put down the Myriad Item Register in his hand and picked up the jade bottle. More accurately, it should be called Origin Liquid. The spirit jade origin is the source of the jade mine. If all of them were taken away, the jade mine would not dry up and new spirit jades would not be produced. Normally, they would only take a third of it before going down to retrieve it. They would have to wait for 1,000 or several thousand years before the spirit jade origin would recover. This unrefined primeval origin liquid can be perfectly absorbed by the physical body without any side effects. It has many wondrous uses. It can strengthen the physical body, convert bloodline energy, aid cultivation, and recover from severe injuries. Sovereign emperors can even use origin liquid to recover quickly when their divine energy runs dry. When Yun Fei heard that, he quickly closed the bottle. Unexpectedly, the most valuable reward of the ranking battles was this origin liquid. This was a treasure that even sovereign emperors would treasure. It had many wondrous uses and could be said to be omnipotent. Although it has many uses, it is too comprehensive. It does not have any outstanding advantages, which can be considered a disadvantage. However, the most proper thing is that it has no side effects and does not require an alchemist to refine it. Xiao Chen smiled faintly as he continued. He had the most origin liquid. The others only had 5 kilograms, but he had more than 250 kilograms. How did you know? Yun Fei and the other 2 asked out of curiosity. Xiao Chen pointed to the Myriad Item Register in his hand, smiling without saying anything. Also, what is this? Qiong Ying asked in confusion as he put on a pair of black gloves. These gloves were very thin. After putting them on, he revealed half a finger. There were 7 pieces of metal imprinted on the back of the gloves, forming ancient divine characters. It was the same as the image on the front of the Heavenly Alliance medallion. However, there was no bronze mirror. This was not a reward but a tool that came with every new member of the Heavenly Alliance. There was no record of this in the Myriad Item Register. When Xiao Chen put it on, he felt that it was strange as well. Nangong Feng smiled and said, "Let me tell you what this is. I guarantee that it will be an eye-opener." Soul energy fluctuations appeared on Nangong Feng's body, and the ancient divine characters on the back of the gloves flickered. In the next moment, silver liquid metal flowed out from Nan Gongfeng's wrist, looking incredibly mystical. Then, the liquid metal covered Nan Gongfeng's arm, forming gauntlets, wrist guards, and shoulder guards. Then, it continued to spread, covering the entire body, forming a set of silver battle armor shining with flowing light. The battle armor, shoulder guards, leg guards, arm guards, and combat boots, none of them were missing. Silver light flickered endlessly, forming a complete set. This greatly startled Xiaoqun. Be it the battle armor, shoulder guards, arm guards, or leg guards, they were all inherited Dao tools. This was a perfect set of battle armor formed by a complete set of inherited Dao tools. Not only that, but there was something even more shocking. The materials used to forge this battle armor seemed to be made of countless divine materials, somewhat similar to the materials of the warship they were currently on. Nan Gongfeng stood up. The silver battle armor covered his entire body, giving off a flowing light. Every part of the armor was connected to the Dao. Under the contrast of this divine battle armor, Nan Gongfeng looked very heroic, giving off an overwhelming aura. After Nan Gongfeng activated this set of mysterious battle armor, Xiaoqun, Yunfei, and Qionging felt a strong pressure. This even with Xiaoqun's extraordinary mental state, he was still somewhat shocked. Not long ago, Xiaoqun had seen someone in the Divine Dragon Empire wearing a complete set of inherited Dao tools. But that was because he didn't know that not only was the quality of the individual parts incomparable, but the whole was also incomparable. After seeing Nan Gongfeng's battle armor and thinking back to the Golden Dragon race's Qin Outyen's battle armor, Xiaoqun felt like Nan Gongfeng came from the countryside. Who knew where he came from? Xiaoqun, now that I'm wearing this set of alloy battle armor, you have no chance of victory against me, Nan Gongfeng said confidently. Nan Gongfeng said confidently. This set of battle armor did indeed give off an extraordinary aura, shocking everyone. Xiaoqun did not deny it. This set of battle armor seemed much stronger than it looked on the surface. If they fought, victory would be hard to say. However, Nan Gongfeng's words were just a casual remark. He was not the only one with this set of battle armor. Xiaoqun, Yunfei, and the others also had it. Alloy battle armor? Xiaoqun asked, feeling suspicious when he heard Nan Gongfeng mention it. That's right. It's the alloy battle armor. Nan Gongfeng smiled faintly and withdrew the battle armor. The silver battle armor immediately turned back into liquid metal and flowed back into his unremarkable black gloves. Seeing the others looking at him curiously, Nan Gongfeng smiled and continued explaining. The so-called alloy is made by mixing hundreds or even thousands or tens of thousands of divine materials in a precise ratio. Then, a Grandmaster blacksmith would have to refine them. Only after tens or hundreds of years of continuous tempering can the final alloy be formed. In the martial epoch, divine materials were resources that could be called divine materials in the Great Thousand Realms. They were already considered peak materials and extremely valuable. Divine materials were the strongest metals that naturally existed in the Great Thousand Realms. There were only about 1,000 kinds of metals that could be called divine materials. Without exception, they were all extremely rare existences. Alloys were made by mixing these divine materials through a mysterious formula and tempering them for tens or hundreds of years. Furthermore, a Grandmaster blacksmith was needed to guarantee a success rate. Then, the martial epoch's strongest metal would be formed. It was easy to imagine the terrifying effects of tens or hundreds of thousands of tempering. Among the 8 superfactions, only the Heavenly Alliance was rich and had the most Grandmaster blacksmiths. Of the 8 superfactions, only the Heavenly Alliance, which was rich and had the most Grandmaster blacksmiths, could forge the alloy battle armor on a large scale and provide every member of the organization with a set. In terms of accumulations, outstanding talents, and peak combat prowess, the Heavenly Alliance was weaker than the other superfactions. Without the alloy battle armor, the Heavenly Alliance would not be able to compare to the other superfactions. Otherwise, such a wealthy organization would have been destroyed long ago. After hearing Nan Gongfeng's introduction, the other three's horizons were indeed broadened. Alloy was already extremely precious, Yet the Heavenly Alliance forged such a set of alloy battle armor for every member. A super faction truly lived up to its name. Now that they thought about it, the requirements to join the Heavenly Alliance were already so strict. Why did more than 1 million sovereign personages risk their lives to take the test? This was not without reason. The charm and attraction of a super faction were simply too great for a cultivator. I learned all this from my master, Sovereign Emperor Shingu. He once showed me his alloy battle armor and told me a little about it. There is a total of 3 grades of alloy: Transcendent Alloy, Immortal Alloy, and Eternal Alloy. Each grade is split into 9 stars. If we make sufficient contributions to the Heavenly Alliance, we can collect divine materials to continue strengthening the Transcendent Alloy battle armor. Nan Gongfeng's explanation revealed the Heavenly Alliance's boundless charm, stirring up the imaginations of others. Xiao Qin activated his alloy battle armor. The silver armor, which shone with a flowing light, covered all the vital spots on his body. Xiao Qian's delicate appearance and silver battle armor complemented each other perfectly, making him look valiant and extraordinarily handsome. He was like an immortal soldier or immortal general walking out of a painting. Elegant, cold, proud, noble, extraordinary. Damn, Xiao Qin, you look like a completely different person when you wear this armor. Nan Gongfeng looked at Xiao Qin with some incredulity. This set of armor completely changed Xiao Qian's aura. His normally reserved sharpness, his extraordinary pride, and his hidden domineering aura were all displayed without a doubt. The 3 retreated. The pressure from Xiao Qin was much greater than after Nan Gongfeng put on the alloy battle armor. They quickly activated their own armors. Otherwise, they would not be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin smiled faintly at Nan Gongfeng's praise. Then, he carefully experienced the various mysteries of the alloy battle armor. Interesting. Every part is an inherited Dao tool. However, when put together, it is not messy at all. They are all lightning-attributed inherited Dao tools that are perfectly compatible with me. The Heavenly Alliance's people are really thorough. With the help of this set of armor, the might of my Thunder Dao domain can increase by at least 30%. What was even more mysterious was that Xiao Qin discovered that his strength seemed to affect the alloy battle armor. For example, his physical body was the awakened blue dragon divine body. The alloy battle armor seemed to benefit from it, further strengthening its defense. Suddenly, inspiration flashed in Xiao Qian's mind. He figured something out. This set of alloy battle armor was a set of alloy battle armor. This set of alloy battle armor brought out the Thunder Great Dao not because it was lightning attributed in the first place. Instead, it sensed Xiao Qian's Thunder Dao domain and automatically turned it into the Thunder Great Dao. It was just like how the alloy battle armor's defense strengthened when it sensed Xiao Qian's blue dragon divine body. That was to say, Xiao Qin comprehended the Ice Dao domain. The great Dao that the alloy battle armor brought out might be the Ice Dao. Yun Fei and Qiong Ying discovered this as well. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. The blacksmith who forged this alloy battle armor was indeed a grandmaster. His blacksmithing skills had already reached a level that they could not comprehend. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.